Welcome to an amazing session we've got for you. This is called Growth Mode. It's brought to you by Lofty. It's a virtual summit for teams. It's all about helping you understand the core components to growing and to retaining. And we're going to have a lot of conversations today with amazing high level individuals, people that run companies, people that run teams. And we're going to see different takes on things, but at the core of everything, you're going to see the same concepts just executed in different ways. And we'll probably switch a couple people here and there, but they're all going to show up. And just do me a favor, please. As you're watching this, I need you to do a few things. Number one, I need you to have your pen, paper, or if you take notes on a computer, have that ready, because a lot of times you're going to watch virtual events. You're going to be part of something great like this, but you're not going to know what to execute on. And so I want you to start taking notes and saying, hey, the first person that talked today, the one thing that I think I can execute based on what they said is this. And the same thing for the next person and then the next person. In fact, that's exactly what I do. I learn a lot from these as well. All right, number two. This is recorded. So when you ask me if it's recorded, it's actually being recorded right now and being played onto the YouTube channel as well. So we're just going to go and edit after, make it clean. It'll be sent out to everyone who's watching. So you're going to get a copy of that as well. And then a third one, bonus, side note, have fun, ask questions, participate. This is for you. This is what we did specifically for you, because I know a lot of teams and brokerages are struggling right now with changes that are happening with the whole real estate market bifurcated. You're either in the south of the United States, parts of the West that are starting to suffer more, a lot of inventory, or you're in the Northeast. It looks like for the most part is still doing quite well. Wherever you are, this will apply to you. We're going to go from all different angles on this. And with that, just a quick intro. I'm Tristan. I'm emceeing this whole thing. I'll be asking questions and listening along with you. I've been in business for 21 years, and I run Lab Code Agents with a few friends and some people on the back end here. This is brought to you by Lofty. So you're going to see us bring up Lofty quite a few times on this, because this made it possible. In fact, they got a lot of these people on here because not only are they Lofty users, but they're a powerhouse. So know that we're going to bring them up. Lofty, for those of you who don't know or have heard a little bit, it used to be Chime, and it switched over to Lofty. There it is. That's the link. It's what I like to call, it's an all-in-one digital platform. It serves not only as your core CRM, as your website, as landing pages, social outlets, AI-driven creation for content and communication with your incoming leads and your database. It really is an all-in-one. It's the best I've seen out there. It's the one we use for our brokerage at Y Realty, and it's the one we use for our team mainly as well. With that, let's see if we've got our friend. We're going to do a switcheroo here. We're going to have Josh come in first, but we're going to have Robert Lucido come in first. He's a longtime friend of mine. He runs a big team with family members. I think you've heard of Robert at this point. He's been buffing out. He's been hitting the weights, so you may not recognize him. So when he pops in, you'll see a nice background. And dude, where are the massive arms, bro? What is this? I need to see the arms.
They're putting away for today.
Oh, you're funny. You're funny. Well, thanks for doing this, man. I see you wearing a Moxie Mortgage shirt. I know you have that company as well. Can you do a quick intro for those listening in? Who are you? What do you do?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Tristan. My name is Robert Lucido. I'm the CSO of Lucido Global, which is our real estate side. And about a year and a half ago, we ventured into the mortgage space as well. At any transaction, what ultimately is exchanged is something of worth for money. And for a lot of times it comes down to the Benjamins. So we recognize that, especially on the buyer side for our clients, if we could provide more value to them on the mortgage side, it would make us more valuable as providers of real estate services as well. In other words, we help them save on their mortgage. They can afford more house. They can, that house becomes more affordable to them. So that's when we've entered into Moxie Mortgage as well.
Got it, man. I have been seeing it a lot. I've been getting your emails too. So thank you for that. A good question for you, because I'm going to throw a curveball at you before we start. Josh is here. Do you want to interview him with me?
Do I want to interview him?
Yeah.
All right. I've never been an interviewer. Let's do it.
All right, let's go. All right, Josh. Let's bring in Josh. Josh is with Epic, and then we'll go to Rob after. What's up, man? How are you?
What's up? Good. Good to see you, Tristan. Good to see you again, Robert.
Hey, Josh.
We were on a panel like this not too long ago.
Yes, sir.
Dude, what is this amazing background? This is crazy.
Oh, mine? It's not fake. It's real. It's just random.
I love it.
I always get asked if it's real, and I'm like, yeah, it's just a collection of my crap, basically. Yeah.
All right, what's your favorite piece from the back?
It's all just, I like dinosaurs. There's a lot of like little dinosaur stuff. I'm into space. I'm a nerd. So there's a lot of books on physics. I mean, like, so when I'm not doing real estate, I'm reading about physics, and I read a lot of classics. It's all these. Yeah, it's just all my nerd stuff, man. I got like a DeLorean here. Just random nerd. Look, Robert's a jock, man. He's got all the jock stuff. So you got the jocks here, you got the nerds here. I just got the nerd stuff. So it's cool.
Yeah, Robert's unique. He's like a lot of both. If you've ever heard him speak, the guy like breaks down things, and I'm like, okay, dude, it was crazy. All right, guys, we've got Josh Miller from Epic. The topic is retention's the new recruiting. I like that twist on it. I agree with you, Josh. We're going to go over how Epic Realty has grown from 30 agents to 3,000 agents in the matter of, dude, it feels like you guys came out of nowhere, and it's a beautiful thing to see. Where do we start with that when we're talking about retention is the new recruiting?
Yeah. Well, because I think we've all seen kind of the turnstile at brokerages where their whole focus is growth, and that just kind of came out of nowhere, where it's just, all about bringing people in, and it kind of felt like a gold rush for a lot of these, big recruiters. But that's not what we wanted to build. We grew pretty fast. We're around 4,000 agents now. 3,000 was the end of last year. But we, I mean, just a couple of years ago, we had less than 100 agents. I mean, so it's been very, very fast, but we have done nothing really to grow. To me, my idea is that you don't need to focus on growth. If you have the best business model, agents aren't stupid. They're going to join the best model. That's it, period. So your goal really just needs to be create the best thing. If you can create the best thing, you don't have to focus on growth. And so our goal is to create the best thing, and retention is a big part of that. It's about creating a place where people want to be. What I noticed at my last brokerage is that if you're trying to recruit someone, the hardest person to recruit is somebody who's happy. Because I've had people, I'm like, wow, I can't believe you're giving away half your commission. I can't believe you're paying so much to be at your brokerage. You should be at this model where everything is capped and everything's easy. And they're like, nah, I'm happy where I'm at. And to me, that really resonated with me, that happy agents, they don't change brokerages. They don't want to leave. They have no problems. Everything's great. Everything works out. And so our goal is really just to keep everybody happy. What do we do to keep people happy? And so that to me is a great retention model. Have the best model and make sure everyone's happy. So that's our focus. We have we do not have a VP of growth. We don't have a growth director. We don't have any of that at all. We don't have a growth committee. We have nothing. I've seen these brokerages kind of pop up recently, and their first hire is a VP of growth. And I'm like, that tells me everything about their logic and mindset, that their first hire is a VP of growth or growth director. But for us, we don't have any of that. But we do have a retention committee and a retention director. And that's all we focus on. It's just like, the question is always like, are people happy? What are they not happy about? How can we fix those things? And then what else can we implement that will make people even happier? So it's not just about fixing problems, coming up with creative ways to keep people happy, to make them happier, to make them sticky and want to stay. And so it's just a totally different mindset than I think that people have had who are doing recruiting or brokerages who are looking to grow. They're focused on how do I convince someone to join, whereas I'm focused on how do I convince people to stay. If they've joined, how do they stay? So all of our growth actually has been organic. This really quick growth that you're talking about that we've had, it's all been organic. We don't have a crazy different approach to recruiting people that other people aren't doing, but we don't have anybody focused on it at all. So it's just been organic.
Got it. That makes sense. So then when it comes to, by the way, I have seen that. So great job on that, the organic growth. When it comes to retention, what are the key components you've seen? Because Robert and I have talked about retention quite a few times and growth, but what have you seen be the key components to retention now that you've been running this for a bit?
Yeah, so most of our attrition has been, because we're scaling rapidly. So it's been to operational inefficiencies, right? That's what happens when you scale. You kind of break things, like the old Mark Zuckerberg quote of, move fast and break shit, So that's what, we've had experience. So as we clean up operations and all that stuff, what really causes people to be sticky is that you're focused on them and not focused on you. I think so many companies, they understand that they're responsible for agents, but they don't think that they're responsible to them. And so they're not focused on agents. And you have to be almost agent obsessed if you want to actually have great retention. You have to be constantly in their face saying, how can I help? What can I do? What else can I do for you? How can I, I tell agents, I still do agent one-on-ones almost every day. I have one-on-ones with agents. And even though we have thousands of agents, I'm still talking to agents all the time, one-on-one. They all have my cell phone number. Every one of our agents gets my cell phone number, and I'm texting them and calling them. And I think that it's just showing up is probably the biggest thing you could possibly do. It's like parenting. The number one thing you could do is be there, right? So, so all of us kind of showing up. But I tell our agents when I talk to them, it's like, hey, I work for you, not the other way around. Like, what do you need? Like, how can I make things better? Are you happy here? What can I do to make things better? And we all kind of take that servant approach. That was our very first meeting about Epic before we even had the name Epic. We didn't know what it was going to be called. But the idea of it was, what would it look like if we worked for the agent instead of the other way around? And so I think that's important to have that mindset. It doesn't matter how you market your company, because there's a lot of companies that are trying to do what we're doing now, and they're trying to add bullet points to their join website, but they're not following through because they don't have this mindset right. It really, we're in real estate, we get it, we understand that if the foundation is messed up, the whole thing's going to be messed up, right? So your foundation, and this is your mindset, right? So we lead with that mindset of this kind of servant idea of how do we just make things better for our agents. So
how do you keep that in front of your leadership team? Because if somebody's listening in, team, independent brokerage, or they're thinking of starting either or, how do you maintain that level of involvement with the agent so that the culture stays there and grows?
Yeah, no, and that's very, very key. So we have something called there's two parts of this. One of them is strategic hiring, making sure you're only promoting people who get the vision. And then the other one is when they show up and they seem like they had the vision, but they didn't, you get rid of them very quickly. We actually have, even for our agents, we have something called the no assholes policy. And it's actually in our ICA, and that's what it's called. And it's funny, when I was bringing it up to our legal team, I said, look, we're going to put this in our ICA. And they're like, seriously? I said, yeah, seriously. And they're like, you want to call it that? I was like, yeah. And so our no assholes policy, they made me define. They said, well, asshole's kind of a general term. Like, we have to define this. So I actually had to define what an asshole was, which I thought was hilarious. But really, an asshole is somebody who is focused primarily on themselves. They're focused on their own ego. They're not serving anyone else other than themselves, that they put themselves before the company and their other agents. And so we really kind of go through that with our leadership team. So we have a very unique system in that we have state brokers and we have this kind of compliance people, but then we have these people called area leaders. Area leaders are local. So if you live in like Asheville, North Carolina, or you live in Boise, Idaho, you have somebody who's a leader there whose whole job, they're being paid by the company, is to mentor, coach, assist, and show up for you. So they show up to you locally. They host local events, sometimes weekly local events. They are calling you directly in a proactive way, not waiting for you to call them with a problem. They're calling you like, hey, what's going on? How can I help? And that's their whole job. And so if we can get the area leaders and the brokers' mindsets right, they will make sure that everything's being supported. The idea is no agent left behind, right? So, so we have a lot of grassroots on the ground leaders who are being paid by the company to lead people and to show up for people. So that's it.
I like the area leaders part, Robert. It's like having team leaders inside the team, right? So like leadership all across, so they can sustain this growth and making sure that you are helping out people in their areas. Interesting.
Yeah,
I like that.
to piggyback on what Josh said, I mean, most people in this industry think, okay, I need to make more money, so I need to get bigger, and they put bigger before better, and they end up getting just bloat. Bigger scaling a business is challenging to do for a lot of the reasons Josh said. I mean, it's going to break systems. It's going to increase costs. You're going to have more people and conflicting personalities, especially if you don't maintain that culture rigidly. And so as you scale, if you don't fix your problems just grow. You know, there's this whole adage that like revenue or production solves all problems. I think it's BS. It compounds problems unless you address them. And so, like Josh said, if you focus on better, and you're making an offer that's truly better, people will be attracted to you. People will be attracted to your business, whether it's agents you're recruiting or clients you're attracting.
That's well said, man. Well said. We've got a question for you, Josh. Sarah, good question. From a sustainability perspective, how can Epic Realty continue to grow and offer an abundance of free programs to the agents? Because teams are thinking, okay, how can I continue to offer my team members this and that? I mean, I'm sure independent brokers are thinking the same thing. How do we answer that?
Yeah, and I was just about to reply to her because it's like, I'd love to answer that question. You know what, though? I've heard that question since we had 5 benefits. And I remember people saying, how can you offer all these things? It was 5 things. And now we're at 92. But I've heard that at 5, I've heard it at 10, 15, 20, 30, 50. I mean, so you plan for it, Sarah. It's something we started at the very beginning. We knew we wanted to offer benefits. We didn't know what those benefits would be. And so we had to get the money right. So we met with the accountants and we said, we want to offer benefits. We really don't know what they are. So, you know, what can we afford to spend? And they give us a budget, and it's like a per agent per month kind of budget. And, this is what you need to charge. This is what you can spend. And so we basically been filling in that budget. How much is this new benefit? Does it fit in our budget? And so we're kind of building up to fill it in. So when someone sees us add a new benefit, I think they think that we have a new line item. They're like, how are they absorbing? Like, we just introduced childcare, right? So now we're like watching people's kids for them, right? So we have free childcare, student tutoring, elder care. But I think people see that as a new expense, but it's actually not a new expense. We're just allocating a pre-existing expense. So we like to say it's like building it right the first time, right? So we start off with how much can we spend, and then we just start filling in that budget. And so the cool thing is as we've grown, things have gotten cheaper per agent per month. So for our big vendors like Lofty, who I just saw pop up, and other companies, we have tiered pricing. So as we've gotten bigger, our price per agent has gone down, right? So we may pay X amount when we have 1,000 agents and another amount when we have 3,000 agents. And so what that does when that price goes down is it opens up a budget for yet another benefit. And so we've just slowly been filling it out. There will be a time, probably by the end of the year, we have over 100 benefits. And still be within our budget, which is crazy to me that we've been able to accomplish that. But it's not easy, Sarah. It's not easy. Once you have it set up, it's not easy to maintain. But yeah, carefully.
Josh, along those lines, we're going to assume, just from me running lab kits and being involved with other agents for a while, that one of the core pieces to agents loving the things that you offer for free is a CRM. So Lofty, let's just assume that's the case, because they always ask, oh, what's your CRM? What do you have? Lofty's awesome. Thanks for adding that. What other 2 or 3 things have you noticed that people absolutely love that you're like, wow, that's interesting. I didn't expect that, or maybe you did. What are they?
Okay, so our benefit that gets made fun of the most by other brokerages is actually our most popular benefit, which is so crazy. It's the car wash benefit. It's just so unique, it was like our very first benefit, unlimited car washes. It's not a big benefit, usually when another brokerage is kind of mocking us, say, oh, the place, the free car washes, but they're leaving out the free healthcare and the free prescriptions and the free child care and the elder care and the free signs and photography that we do and all these other add-ons that are really substantial to your business and really save you real money. But I will say the car wash is by our most used and most just loved. I actually have shirts made for our last event, PowerCon. Is like, I'm just here for the free car washes.
That's cool, man.
So we kind of lean into that. It's funny, it's quirky, and it's something we kind of embrace the quirkiness of. But I will say probably the things like the listing billboards and the that make us unique, the healthcare, the free prescriptions, the fact that your whole family is covered with things like free roadside assistance, because who's not in their car all the time if you're a busy agent, and it covers you, your children, anyone driving in your household, all of your cars, So hearing these kind of cool stories of, we have one agent, her husband and her they've been trying to get pregnant, and there's a prescription she needs in order to get pregnant, and they just couldn't afford it. And so it was part of our free prescription program, and now she's pregnant. There's going to be a whole generation of human beings that will walk this earth based on that one benefit that we offer. We've had stories from agents who've told us like, hey, my dog was sick. I didn't know if I should take him to the emergency vet, which is like an hour away. So I was just going to wait it out to the morning, but I decided to open the free AirVet app that you guys provide and talk to a vet 24/7. And the vet's like, no, you need to go now. Don't wait till the morning. And because of that, their dog's alive. Like, because by the time they got to the vet's like, no, if you waited till the morning, your dog would have been dead. Like, it's so good that you came in. And so like these stories of like saving somebody's dog's life or helping them, have a baby, or, they were stranded on the side of the road and they got roadside assistance. All these little stories we hear every single day. And it creates this kind of cool thing that we know that we're doing something right because we're effectively changing people's lives and their careers. I had an agent reach out to me about 3 weeks ago who told me that he was afraid of getting a listing. And he told me, I'm not afraid of business, I'm not afraid of success or anything, but I couldn't afford the signs and I couldn't afford the photographer and I couldn't give my clients the marketing they needed. And to be able to do that for $0, to get a client and be able to hire a professional photographer for $0, being able to get signs and posts installed for $0, and being able to put the listing on a billboard, to be able to put an ad on Facebook for free for the listing with our free ads that we wrote for listings, just really made it to where he could just get business without worrying about being out of pocket, before it even goes live. You guys know, we all know, you're spending, thousands of dollars not knowing if the home will even sell. But being able to offload that expense to your broker means that if the home doesn't sell, you're not out any money, for one. But for two, you can take on as many listings as you want and not have to worry about the upfront cost. And so to kind of see that change people's lives, to change stuff for them, their kids, it really is kind of crazy. It's kind of
I
cool.
love your answer, man.
Yeah.
I love that because you're really showing that you're focusing more on the agent piece, right? That's
Yeah.
really cool. I like that approach. All right, so now let's shift a little bit because it's getting a little tougher for some agents in some parts of the country, right? How are you guys showing up for those agents? Anything that you're doing extra for them, or noticing that maybe you have to just jump on a call more with them? How are you showing up because they're struggling?
We're literally giving them business. So we provided millions of leads last year. And I think we increased our agents' GCI across the country by 7 million, 8 million. And this year alone, we've increased agent GCI by 10 million. And it's through the, procurement of leads. And we don't charge anything for that, by the way. We don't charge an extra split. We don't charge anything extra per month. We also started a relationship with realty.com. Lance has been a great person to cooperate with on that. where all of our agents get buyer and seller leads completely for free. There's no additional splits, nothing. They just claim leads and they get business. And that we will probably, by the end of this year, be at 20 or 30 million. We've increased our agents GCI, their commission by, which is just crazy. So what we're doing is we're trying to target, like you're saying, these areas where people are kind of struggling because there's new rules. I don't know if you know about New York, but they have this new rule. It's just insane where, now you don't have to pay the broker's fee unless you hired the broker. It's happening all over. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to double down on the leads in those areas to try to just literally funnel people to our agents. If they're struggling and we're focusing on it. We're looking at reports all the time saying who's struggling, where's business kind of dropping off in real estate, and how can we support those agents? So it's agents don't need a bunch of bullet points on a website. They don't need a bunch of motivation. They're entrepreneurs. You know what they need? Business. They need money. They need to sell homes. And that kind of practical idea about how can we support agents means how can we save money? How can we get them more business? Because that's what they're focused on. And so some of this kind of like talk from brokerages where it's like, oh, we have the culture, all that's great. But you know what agents need? Cashola, man. They need to pay their bills. And so we have not forgotten that. We have a great culture and we're very supportive people. But at the same time, we recognize that this is a business and these are entrepreneurs and they need help. And so we're here to do what we can to help them for sure.
I like that. All right. Anything in closing, Robert? Or
the only thing I would add is, the only thing I would piggyback on that is, where we're different is that instead of focusing on more and more transactions, we focus on maximizing revenue per sale, especially in markets where transactions are down, which if you just look at nationwide statistics, we've been at historic lows for the last 3 years in a row. So if your whole business model is around just doing more and more transactions, you may succeed and you may be a rare exception, but you're swimming against the current. And if you're working harder than ever to get homes sold and you're providing more value to your clients, why not make more per sale? So last month, we were proud that although I can't give specific commissions, our average commission was nearly twice market average. So our agents are making more per transaction. So they're getting paid their worth, which is really important to us. And that's where we're different.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great approach. And there's a lot of little levers that we can all pull to kind of help, and getting a bigger slice of the pie or making the pie bigger, whatever we could do is very, And we do focus on transactions. I think we are, for 2024, the average Epic agent sells 3 to 4 times more homes than any other cloud brokerage, which is crazy to me and awesome. But I love that idea of helping them increase more of their revenue from that. Yeah. So
I love that. Josh, thanks for doing this, man. I think you're building something really amazing. Great job. I love you and your team, and I love what you guys have built. Keep growing and keep showing up, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for showing up.
Thanks, guys.
All right. That was great. I love the insight. I love the approach. I love listening to what he had to say. Robert, now we've got you, my friend. Let's get right into this. Your topic is slightly different. I'm just going to read it. How to 5x your return on transactions by leveraging the customer flywheel. Now I'm curious, I want to see the customer flywheel, dude. But
all right, go ahead.
Where do we start?
All right. Well, let's start right here since the theme of today is retention. And can you see my screen? First time on?
Not yet, but we will. Hold on. There it is.
Perfect. All right. So this is just general benchmarks across several industries for client retention rate. And you can basically see where our industry stacks up. If you walked into Shark Tank and pitched your business model and said, we retain 10% of clients, they would kick you right out of the room. Those retention numbers are miserable, yet that is the average for our industry. What that basically means is 9 out of every 10 of your clients on average will work with a different agent the next time. So if we want to increase our retention, we have to solve the question, how do we retain more of those clients so we get either more referrals, but also in particular, more repeat business? So let's first just define what a customer flywheel is, a client flywheel. I'm going to show it to you, but instead of looking at our business as a linear client relationship, just taking them along a transaction process. We need to look at it more in a circular approach, a customer-centric approach that emphasizes repeat business. So what does that look like? On the right-hand side here, you see a customer flywheel. Now, whenever you acquire a client, you have a thing called CAC, customer acquisition cost. That's a typo right there. It should say cost. And then you have a thing called lifetime value. How much are you earning from this client? So if we have a $500 acquisition cost and our cost of sales, aka our split, is 50%, and on the first sale we make $10,000, the average agent is bolstering a 9x return on investment. They spent $500 to acquire the client. They paid out half the split. They netted $4,500, assuming no other costs. A top performer, on the other hand, recognizes that this transaction, this client, could offer 4 more transactions. And if you just look at property value appreciation trends, on average, it's projected properties are projected to appreciate 4% per year for the next 5 years. On top of that, if we catch a first-time home buyer, they're going to be a move-up buyer. So each commission, each sequential commission on average will be higher than the first one. But for 90% of agents, they're only capturing the first transaction. So top performers that capture all 4 sales will be looking at just under a 70x return, and they'll be netting $35,000. From that relationship, again, still assuming they pay out 50% splits. So how do we adjust our business model, and we look at our business in terms of a flywheel? So again, we acquire a client and we have that first initial transaction. Let's say it's a purchase. One of the core challenges is that on average, especially in today's market, because so many people are locked into a home, the lock-in effect, because they have a low interest rate, preventing them psychologically from wanting to move. So on average, it would take around 7 years before this person would sell the house. What we're going to see is those numbers are going to increase. In our core market in Maryland, we've been at this well before COVID. It was 11 to 14 years. And that's because people are moving to the market to raise families. So how do we retain that relationship over 7 to 10 years? That's a really hard thing to do. So the second transaction comes here when they sell that house, and 90% of people, 90% of agents are not capturing that transaction. So what do we do in the meantime? With us, and which is I hinted at before, which is where the mortgage relationship comes in, we recognize that person will likely refinance 3 times while they're living in that house. So our clients get access to no-cost refinances, which helps them lower their cost of living at no out-of-pocket cost to them. And every time we do one of those at Moxie, we tell the client that we're only doing it because they worked with that agent. It's a benefit to them, so they get all the credit. So from a company perspective, when we make our initial sale here, we include several different benefits and guarantees that makes it more likely that they will sell that house with us. And on top of that, we're monetizing these transactions as well. So this client, within 10 years roughly, is worth not just 1 sale to us, it's worth 5 transaction events to us. And then we domino those to get additional referrals. So if you can figure out how you can capture and monetize more of those transaction events in a way that helps you maintain that client relationship, your ROI will increase dramatically. But the average agent only looks at it as a single transaction. You get a client, you sell their house, they never think of them again.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm already seeing what you're doing here, which is, by the way, great. So people pay attention to this, because what Robert is focusing on is making sure that the agent, you, me, we understand all of the possibilities of the lifetime of the client from the very beginning. And then my next thing, just because I know Robert, he's probably going to tell you, or he's thinking it, is like, this is how we now train and help the agent so that they can get there. Because if you know Robert and how he's shown us all these different things, he's always trying to improve the agent so that they can double, triple the amount that the average agent does. So I love that you did that, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So then the next question would be, when we make that initial sale, I mentioned our commission rates are much higher. So how are we delivering more value to be worth that higher commission? And then we think about it strategically. What do we want to provide that makes it more likely that they'll want to come back to us to do business? So in any business whatsoever, your biggest handicap is the price. I think we just lost Tristan. It's just me now.
No, we're good.
All right, cool. The price you charge limits the value you can provide. If you were charging nothing, what could you really provide to the client that would be, financially sustainable? The converse, with the flip side, would be if your price doubled, what else could you provide? What else could you provide that would differentiate yourself from the competition? So as soon as you determine the price you want to charge and then think backwards to how you're going to be worth it, all of a sudden you can introduce a lot of different things that makes it more likely that they're going to want to come back to you to sell that house. So that's how we approach it, and why our agents, you mentioned the training. Yes, our agents go through a 5-day training on the buy side, a 5-day training on the sell side. It's one of the best, I promise you, trainings you'll go through. It's not just real estate specific. We take everything from different industries, bring it back into real estate. So our agents change their mindset and how they approach their business.
Do you do live training, recorded training, or a combo of both?
Those are all live. We do recorded trainings for different aspects, but no, I run these trainings every month. Our top performing agents take the training multiple times. We have one agent who would be in the top 1% of all agents nationwide. She took the training 3 times in a row. Her average commission more than doubled. She increased her take-home income by over $500,000 in less than 12 months. So she's taken it 3 times. So yeah, our top performers see so much value in the training that they're willing to take 3 weeks in a row to take the same training over and over again.
Got it. All right. So then what would you say for your company, and you guys do amazing nationwide, what would you say has been the key component to retention and growth for your company?
Of agents or clients?
Well, let's go with agents, and then let's go with clients. What about agents?
So our home brokerage in Maryland has the highest retention rate in all of Keller Williams. And we've intentionally designed things so that our model, again, we're not a general brokerage in how we operate, because we're not trying to just recruit head numbers like Josh was talking about. We're very focused on the specific kind of agents that wants to be a high producer. So when you get an agent that is producing at that level, how do you retain that person? That's the person we're trying to retain, not the person that's trying to do 1 transaction a month, if at all. 70% of agents didn't sell a house last year. What value are they to us? And I don't mean to be, crass, but from a business perspective, if they're not producing, they have no value to the business.
All right. So then let's go with that really quick. Just sidetrack. If you're targeting agents that are producers, what's more important to them? Because you're trying to attract them, right? They're your avatar. What's more important to them versus those that are maybe newer or not producing? They've been in it for a while. What's the biggest difference you've seen, and why can you retain the top producers?
It's a great question. And I don't mean to mention him now that he's off the call, but it's interesting because Josh and his brokerage, again, he's a general brokerage. We're more of a team in how we operate. We have very different models. So we're not trying to be everything to everyone. We're trying to pick one or a couple things that we can do better than anyone. And so our value isn't in everything that we offer. We want to offer a couple things that we do better than anyone. And we want agents to see value in that. And so what we've concluded, and again, we've learned this just because over the years we were going tit for tat with one of the top Long and Foster, bankrolled by corporate, going back and forth. We would add a service, they would add a service, and vice versa. And so we just kept expanding what we offered, all the different benefits, all the services. And as a result, costs increased, margins decreased. And we are offering so many things, and it didn't correlate with an equal perception of increase in value. In other words, people buy not because of everything that you offer. They buy because one thing is worth it to them. What did we want our one thing to be? Our one thing that we wanted to be was that agents on our team, in our organization, make more money per transaction than anyone else. If we can train you to be worth more, part one, and then part two is to be actually paid your worth, that's our unique selling proposition. It's not that we offer all these benefits or all these services, although we do offer a lot. It's that we'll train you on how to use those and then train you on your sales approach and our systems to be worth a lot more. At the end of the day, agents want to make money. So if we can show them how to make money with less investment of time, aka leverage, that's our thing. So I would say, to put it concise, our one thing is teaching agents how to get leverage, which means for each unit of input, they're getting twice or three times as much out.
I like that response, man. Very good. All right. Side note again, I got a great question here from Jarabeth. Would it be possible to hear some of the topics you cover in each set of training?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can actually go on YouTube. I gave a TED Talk about 6 months ago, which was a 15-minute summary of our VIP buyer level 1 training. And so we train our agents on the 5 ways to differentiate themselves. We train them on how to approach, for example, things about pricing. We train them on how to present pricing to maximize earnings. So those are just a few of the nuts and bolts from that level 1 training. And that's just on the buy side.
All right. So I have a question. Now I'm curious. Training agents on how to leverage, how do you keep them accountable, or do you not really need to keep them accountable because you've chosen those people that are already producing at a higher level and they keep themselves accountable? What have you found?
In Maryland or with our other partners?
Let's go with Maryland because you have such a high retention rate there.
Okay. Well, again, if we can help them have an epiphany and realize that we want the same thing, we want them to make as much money as possible, we're showing them a road to how to get there. So if they want it, if they buy into the vision of making more per transaction, there's not really any, push and pull. Whenever I go into a market center or give a presentation, I always hit them with this nexus statement, something that kind of brush them back. And you can very quickly see who in the room is going to be like, show me how, I'm going to do this. And then you'll have other people that are always like the naysayers. They're like, oh, it's not possible. Here's the one. It's not possible in my market. My market is different. My market is unique. They're looking for all the reasons why they can't do it. We've typically set those to the side because they're ultimately going to need to see other people doing it in their immediate vicinity before they adopt. We put all our emphasis on the people that are like, hands up, show me how. And I can tell you, we're doing this all across the country. And a lot of our best performers in the program are people with no experience because they don't know any different. We have 2 kids in Ohio. When I say kids, I mean kids.
Wait, 19, how old?
19 and 20 years old. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
One of them's in college. He sold 21 or 23 homes in his first year in real estate. 7 of them he sold while he was studying abroad in Greece. This year, his average commission has nearly doubled. Another guy, he's a 19-year-old kid. He has over 20 listings right now, and his average commission, again, is nearly twice market average. So you have a 19-year-old kid that's making way more money than agents with 10 years of experience in the industry that say it's not possible. Yet they're showing it is possible.
I like that. So that means the training works. By the way, what's your YouTube channel, man? Because I've got you on YouTube like multiple times in different places, so I don't know which one to link.
That one's actually on Keller Williams one. Let me go ahead and.
Is that the dictating your worth?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I got it. I found it. Okay, All right, I'll share it right now.
Yeah, beautiful.
Let Let me put it into the chat, everyone, so you can see this. All right, so two more questions for you, Robert. You're wearing a Moxie shirt. How does that lending arm help with retention for the members of your organization?
So from the agent perspective, it's a critical part to helping them make more per transaction. We offer them unique value and guarantee pieces that they're able to present as their own value. So like right now, we're about to roll out a promotion for Moxie paid 1-0 buy downs for our agents' clients. So if you're competing against another agent and you can offer a 1-0 buy down at zero cost to the agent, everything else that agents tend to offer, like on the list side, for example, oh, I'll throw in this marketing piece or I'll spend this amount of money on that. That comes out of your bottom line. What can we offer that doesn't cost the agent anything, but helps them achieve their end outcome? So everything that we try to do are different value pieces that don't increase the cost of sales for the agent, but increase their net profit. So from the agent perspective, Moxie is an integral part to helping them maximize their commission, make more money, and retain clients. For example, right now we're doing a refinance for a client. This client got turned down by 27 other lenders. We were able to get them into a home. We're refinancing them right now at no out-of-pocket cost to them, and we're going to get their payment down nearly $500 a month. That savings is because they worked with that agent. How much more valuable, how much more appreciative are they that they chose to work with that agent? And then from the team leader perspective, it has additional income opportunities. They can actually apply to be an employee of Moxie Mortgage, which I'm proud to say that 100% of our partners participate in. And so that becomes another piece to helping our team leaders make more per transaction, is by monetizing each transaction, not just on the real estate, but mortgage. And then we also work with our partners to set up their other partnerships, title, insurance, home warranty, moving companies, that kind of thing.
Got it. Do you have an avatar for the agent that you want to attract?
For the real estate side, we do. So it's either an agent or a team that's doing at least 200,000 of GCI annually. And then very importantly, they want to make more money and they're willing to charge a higher commission.
Got it. I like that you do that. And by the way, like I could totally tell that that's your avatar, right? That's good.
Yeah, I mean, again, people are entitled to having different mindsets. If they don't believe, and we see this all the time, and we wish them the best of luck. Some people don't think it's quote unquote fair to charge a higher commission. That's fine. Yeah. We don't believe that. We believe our pricing credo is that we believe you should charge as much as you can for your services. You should never charge more than they're worth, but you must charge a lot more than they cost. So we need to check all three of those boxes. Most agents just never even think about their pricing, which if you think about any other industry, there's always segmentation in the market. There's people that are willing to provide a different level of service in exchange for a different price. You know, you have attorneys that charge $200 an hour and you have attorneys that charge $2,000 an hour. Is that fair? Who cares? If someone's willing to pay $2,000 an hour because they're facing criminal charges and they want to make sure that they don't go to jail, who wouldn't think spending $2,000 an hour is worth it if you don't go to jail?
Yeah. Way over that. All right, let's switch over to the consumer. What do you guys do that works really well for you to retain the consumer, right? Because you in comparison to our last interviewer or interviewee was he's running the brokerage, he's running his company. You're doing both, right? You're not only helping out agents going direct to them, but you're also with the consumer. So when it comes to the consumer, what does the retention plan look like?
First, a big portion of our business is generated by the company, and that's where we put an overwhelming share of our focus. That's where we want to have a vested interest in retaining the business. So in our organization, agents have complete privacy over their SOI. We don't have visibility of those leads. It's incumbent upon them to retain the leads, and we give them the playbook, the same playbook that we do. On our company side of business, we have a full inside sales team that's run by the former director of the inside sales agents at Rocket Mortgage. So we put a huge amount of investment into that program. We increased revenue year over year by 7 figures last year. So we're very focused. If we acquire our client, what do we do to, again, retain that client and monetize it as many times as possible? Introducing the mortgage component to it has led to a dramatic increase in not just our conversion of buyer leads, but also our retention of those buyers, so that we're capturing the refinances, maintaining the relationship, and then staying in the loop to help our agents capture the list side. When someone comes and they, every month we'll send them a full equity report, a full mortgage analysis with different market statistics and also different calls to action. If they click a call to action to request, quotes around a HELOC, or to, looking for kind of like an assessment of what it would look like to buy this as an investment property, we're obviously going to pull the agent back into the mix as soon as the conversation bridges over into a real estate transaction. So an average agent is going to try to put them on a 36 touch and just send messages and say they're doing their work. It's not just enough just to send content. It has to be something that's truly valuable to them. And so the mortgage side has been really valuable for us in maintaining that relationship, sending them the market reports, sending them the home equity analysis, and then also giving them a forum to ask questions about the financing side, because the financing conversation also often pops into the mind before the real estate side comes in. They're always wondering if they can afford it. What does this mean for their monthly payments? So they're often going to come to us or their loan officer before they have the conversation with the agent.
Isn't that interesting, man? They have these questions before they're typically getting to us. And if we answer them, then we get the privilege of helping them.
Yeah. And often in the absence of information, the client will assume the worst. They don't think they can afford it. Yeah. And then they don't think they can afford a home that's worth that much. And so as soon as we help provide clarity around that, now they realize their dream of buying this next home or moving into this community by the next school year, even though they didn't think they could afford that price point, now they know they can. Now they're motivated. We just helped a client this week have that epiphany, and now they're super motivated. They want to be in that community within the next 60 days. So now we're able to pull an agent back in with a pre-approved buyer that's motivated to buy a home within the next 30 days. So they're moved in before the school year starts.
I love that. All right. I'm going to throw a curveball at you because you played baseball. Okay, so you're prepared. This is Rocket. This is their plan, right? You've seen this pitch deck to their investors. This is May 2025. It's no surprise. They have it out there. You reminded me of this when you said that you, with the whole Moxie thing, it's allowed you to connect better with the database. And so I want to know how you guys are planning to fight off or differentiate yourself from Rocket and everyone else who's coming after us, because just with this piece of the deck, they're saying, hey, look, the cost is $40K. We can split that in half. Look at all the fees you're going to be getting, right? But if you come with us, Rocket, Redfin, Mr. Cooper, servicing, loan, title, we're going to save you money. How do you anticipate going up against this?
Yeah, Rocket, give props where it's due. They've made some acquisitions in the last 12 months that are extremely strategic. Opening up their servicing arm, as well as their acquisition of Redfin, they're seeking to, again, cover all processes of the transaction. Our competitive edge is the way in which we're set up and operate. So we beat Rocket's rates by over a point week in and week out. In fact, you can subscribe to our weekly rate sheets where we compare our rates for the week to Rocket every week. How Rocket is a direct to consumer retail lender. So they have all the overhead, the brick and mortar. They have so many middlemen in the process, and they have all the marketing spend. All of that stuff drives up rates. So Rocket's making these acquisitions to try to lower the overall cost to the consumer. If they do all of these things, they're trying to solve the fact that their rates are so much higher and trying to spin it in a way that looks more valuable to the consumer.
Yeah, you'll save here, you'll save here, you'll save here if you just put it all together, right? The key component, I thought, to, let me see if I can go back to the key component to how they're going to work this. Here it is. I'm going to share this with you because I think you guys are already doing this with Lofty. All right. And well, you and I both. This is the piece that they kind of share a little bit of their secret, where they're saying, look, we're going to do the origination, we're going to do the servicing, but in the middle, let me see if I can zoom into this one. In the middle, look at what they say, 83% recapture rate driven by industry best AI-powered client experience, right? Now, we see what they're doing. We know that most agents, because we work with agents, are really terrible at following up. You mentioned it earlier. Everyone throws them into this, what is this, 30 touch plan that means absolutely nothing. And then we end up losing them because we're spamming them, right?
Mhm.
Rocket sees this and they say, hey, look, we're going to actually train our AI to connect with people. So how are you going to fight against this using Lofty, obviously, but how?
Yeah, we have a really good relationship with Lofty. I've had numerous calls with their project management team as well as using as their CTO about what we're doing on the AI and also bouncing ideas back and forth. One of the things that Lofty does extremely well is take the end user's input. So, I've gone as far as creating documentation of what we think would be a really good use case, and then they've mobilized and developed it very quickly for us. AI, of course, the technology itself can differ in how effective it is. But at the end of the day, you can have an amazing AI system and no data in it, and it's not going to do anything for you. So what we
True.
preach to our agents as much as possible is to feed their database. As much information as they have with clients, feed their database so that as Lofty continues to improve the quality of the AI, it has better and more information to work upon. You don't want to get 2 to 4 years down the road and AI in Lofty is so good and you've done nothing to feed the model. You've put no updates in the system. You've logged no calls. You've put in no pertinent information. So we're really religious on the information that we put into our system. Whenever we close out a file, we're feeding the system with as much pertinent data on that client and their transaction. On the mortgage side, we put all their financing details in there so we can leverage different things. And then we're also folding in different AI pieces on ourselves, building out our own queries, our own models, so that we can have different triggers. And then we have our different AI bots that engage with the data that's in the system. I can give you like one specific example. You could have a general language model that sends out a text message with a very nondescript message like, hey, are you still looking to buy? And maybe it'll strike up a conversation. But on the other side of things, maybe you have a language model that engage with pertinent data to them. Hey, I see that your interest rate is at 7.25. I see that you have $250,000 of equity. Or I see that you have $50,000 of credit card debt. And then you're able to offer different personalized solutions to them that are truly valuable to them. They could do a cash out refinance, or they could do a HELOC to consolidate debt. We're helping a client right now do that, refinance to eliminate a whole host of over 6 figures worth of debt, some of which was in a bad spot. So we're going to be able to cash out, refinance him. We're going to be able to increase his credit score by at least 100 points and then refinance him again through a streamline to get his payment down to where he wants it. So within 6 months, he'll be debt free aside from his mortgage. He'll have no negative marks on his credit report, and he'll have a payment that he's looking for and a rate that he's comfortable with.
I love that. You're making the communication custom to where they're at. And I think that is the key. That is all right.
You have to meet your client where they're at. I mean, if you look at effectiveness of just, you could do this test market through emails or just text message blasts. If you send out a very generic message, or let's give you an example. Let's say you're doing a commercial and your hook and your offer is very general. You're going to get a much lower response rate. That's why, Rocket, to their credit, again, they make incredible investments on technology.
Yeah, they do.
And they're trying to assemble as much data as possible so that they can personalize those messages to increase response rates, to increase pull-through rate.
Very true. All right, people, how do you get a hold of Robert? Robert, what's your email, buddy? I had a
Sure.
few people ask, who is this awesome dude? What's up with those baseball bats? I'm just making the last one up, dude. I just threw that out there. There's
I'm a
Robert Lucido at lucidoglobal.com or Robert at moxiemortgage.com. If you're part of the Lofty world, you'll see him quite a few times. He trains, he teaches. We do some webinars together. So, Robert, thanks for helping out with Josh, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
last piece, just so you know, Lofty also runs our mortgage side as well for our technology. So we run everything on the same system. So if you're looking to drive conversion rates, especially of buyers, you know, if I ask the audience a question, would you rather get a cold internet lead or would you rather get a lead that's already pre-approved? It's a pretty obvious answer. So when we have inbound leads, our inside sales team is pulling in the loan officer to pre-approve them on the phone so that we can live transfer it to an agent already pre-approved.
Yeah, that makes it a lot easier.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Appreciate you. Thanks so much. All right, we've got Ashley. What's up? Here's your topic, Ashley. The importance of transparency for selling your value. I like it. And I love Raise, so I know you're going to show us all the cool stuff. So,
yeah,
welcome.
It actually ties in really nicely. I caught the last 10 minutes of what Robert was talking about, and I'm like, this is actually going to tie. I'll be honest, I actually had some of the same slides.
So, oh, really?
The rocket deck, yeah.
Oh, nice. Well, it ties perfectly. And that's why I was like, oh, this is great. Great transition over. Really quick, for those people that don't know you, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Yes. So I'm Ashley Terrell. I am our Chief Revenue Officer at Raise. I'm also an advisor for Lofty. I've been in the prop tech space on both real estate and mortgage for about 15 years now. So I have a very interesting perspective, by the way, and this will actually tie into a little bit about what you were talking about on the last one, Tristan, and what I'm going to get into. I worked for Mr. Cooper. And so I actually worked for Mr. Cooper when it's specifically under Zome and under that subsidiary. So I have some unique perspective on what's going on with the Rocket and Redfin acquisition, and then specifically how it relates to agent value. So.
All right, that's good. That's a really good background. So you're well versed on everything that's happening in our world, and how we can adapt. Where do we start with transparency for selling your value? Because agents are terrible at it. I feel like we do so much work, but we don't show it. It's like we're timid, or we just don't know how, or maybe we don't even have the tools to be able to show it. Where do we start?
So, and if you guys like, I mean, if you want me to share, I did put together, I have a couple slides because what's really interesting.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, because what's interesting specifically is we just did a study with some customers. So let me.
I'm texting a few people that had some questions about Robert, and then one about Raise. I'm like, yeah, hold on. She's going to show something on Raise really quick.
Perfect. Can you guys see a screen?
I got you.
Perfect. Okay. Well, and talking about specifically agent value, you guys all probably heard about these antitrust lawsuits that happened last year. And that really was a strong showing that people do not understand the value that agents bring to a transaction. They have no clue or understanding why agents get paid what they get paid. And that was shown last year with the lawsuits. We actually did a survey, and like I said, I like visuals. So just to, so you guys can kind of look at this, some of the studies that we did. And for those of you that have seen any presentations from Raise in the past, we've shared a lot of survey stats in the past. These are updated numbers. We did a survey that we just got the results back about 30 days ago. So know that these are updated numbers. But what we found are about 51% of sellers thought their agents spend less than 20 or fewer hours to successfully sell their home. And 46% of buyers thought their agents spend 15 or fewer hours to help them buy a home.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's not a big drop in percentage that people think we suck. That's
Basically.
bad.
I've done this presentation in front of a room full of agents several times, and the amount of 4-letter words that I hear when this slide comes up, it's insulting, right? It's insulting to what efforts agents are actually doing.
Actually, I think we all here, we're all on here, but we're all on social, and in social, anytime agents or commission is brought up by a non-agent, people are always jumping in there and saying, "Oh, agents are a waste of time. They're not worth their work. They don't even work. They just show up. They open doors." People definitely 100% undervalue agents, and they don't understand how much work is involved. And this is why I love talking about what you're about to jump into, to show exactly how we can show that value, because obviously it's needed.
Yep, absolutely. And even just to piggyback on a little bit about what you and Robert were talking about the Rocket and Redfin thing, it's exactly what you said. If you pick up the phone, I have plenty of friends that are brokers that were part of the Rocket Homes program and getting leads from Rocket. And after they announced the Redfin acquisition, they called Redfin and they said, what's your strategy? They called Rocket and they're like, what's your strategy? And they said, well, we want to take the median transaction cost from every consumer from 40,000 to 20,000. Like, to your point, it's in their investor deck. It's all out there in the public. And that's coming out of exactly that. It's agent commissions, because they see an opportunity, especially with the lawsuits, to be able to cut that out of there and control the customer in those other ways. And to then the point that you made before too, and I have some of those same slides, it's that 83% recapture rate. When you have 62 million monthly visitors to Rocket and Redfin, and you have 10 million servicing clients in Mr. Cooper, if you can get that recapture, you don't care about that agent commission. You care about all of the other services. And a term that I used when I was working on the mortgage side is controlling the customer. And it's, I feel, a really aggressive term, but it's exactly what everyone's trying to do. It's how to, yeah, well, go ahead.
No, you're right. It is. It's they're trying to control where the customer is going, so that at the end it could just end up with them, like Rocket, right? Redfin, Mr. Cooper.
Exactly. And Mr. Cooper was doing this. They have, like I said, I worked there, and they have a subsidiary called Zone, which was actually, when I was there, competing against Redfin. And they were doing exactly the same exact thing. It was the 1% commission, and how do we control the customer? And now you have that servicer that was trying to do this on their own get partnered with the largest real estate brokerage and the largest originator, essentially, in the country. Not the largest brokerage, but one of them. So, and they're not the only ones doing that. I mean, Zillow too, same type of thing as far as controlling the customer. They launched that super app, and even ICE is coming out with some stuff to do similar type things. And
can you go back one slide to the Zillow one? Because I want to make a point on this, on everyone listening in. There's an opportunity, if you were to take a snapshot of this one, specifically this one, if you were to take a snapshot and just start answering these questions on your own and saying, where or how do I meet the customer in the journey of where they're at, depending on who your avatar is, right? Who are you trying to attract? And ask yourself, do I have all of these tools some way that allows me to connect with them, right? Obviously, this is a Lofty event, but Lofty is a core component to a lot of these. And especially if you're connected to a lender, right? You've got both of you working on this. We've got to look at our partnerships a lot better than what we've been doing, and saying, we actually have partnered with title, escrow, lender, in some cases, attorneys in some states, right? And whoever else is all part of this. And this becomes part of your super app / directory. And the transparency that Raise brings into this, I mean, we haven't seen it yet, but this really helps me complete the circle And that's how we stay in front of people. And I think instead of controlling the customer like Redfin and Rocket and Zillow is trying to do, I think we control the customer journey and saying
Great.
where do we show up where they're at, right? So that we can connect with them a lot better. I love this one. Thanks for showing this one.
Yeah. Well, and I've said this for all of the years that I've been in prop tech. Companies have spent billions and billions and billions of dollars to cut out the realtor, and they failed. And there's a reason for that. And it has to do with the value and the emotional component that realtors are bringing to the transaction. So
Yeah, that
I'm going
makes
to skip
makes
through
sense.
here. Yeah. So I want to share again, I'm a data person. So just to share some survey results from that buyer and seller survey that we completed about a month ago. Thinking about what clients actually want and thinking about like, how are some of these larger companies that are putting the billions of dollars in, how are they trying to step in and take those customers away? First off, we found that 96% of the people that we surveyed thought it was important for their agent to keep them updated real time via text or app during the transaction. I think that's a given, right? Like we're used to Amazon, Instacart, Uber. We're used to getting our updates through transactions. What I found was really interesting was 82% of clients thought it would find value in a tool that shows exactly what their agent is doing behind the scenes, all in one place. So everything that you're doing in Lofty and anything that you're doing in any other ways, your customers actually want to know what you're doing. And I highly doubt that 82% of you guys are actually giving that level of visibility to your customers, but they actually want it. And the kicker that I thought was crazy, 64% of the people we surveyed said that they would pay their agent more if their agent gave them that type of transparency. So speaking about what Robert was talking about on commissions and demanding more on your commissions, I mean, people are willing to give it. They're willing to give that to their agent if they just understand what you're doing. It's literally all they want to know.
It makes sense to me to have that option available. Yeah, I would say just knowing the consumer and giving them that option. Most won't check it, but they'll see it come through if it's emailed to them. They'll feel more comfortable that there's an openness and transparency to it, and creates a trust through it just being available, right? Like when I still order, by the way, like I'm going to simplify this, but I still order pizza. And if I'm going to Domino's, I have that app that tells me how long it's going to take to get here. Are they preparing it? What are they doing? Yeah, I never check the damn thing. But if I want to, it's there. It makes me feel comfortable, like, got it, it's going to be done. So I think thinking of the consumer and just respecting them and what they want more, I don't know how that's a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. They want to understand. And when we did this survey, I had over 200 responses. And when I scanned through them, the theme, we had one question that we asked specifically where it was a free form response was, what is the one thing your agent did to make you feel most supported during the transaction?
Okay.
And probably in 80% of the responses, communication, communication, communication. That's no joke, was 80% of the responses. They kept me updated, communicated with me, kept me in the know. That was most of them. And then the other ones that we saw, very few of them, by the way, were a monetary amount. Very, very few. Like some were like, oh yeah, they got me the best price for the house, or, we got some of those, but so much of it, I had one response. My agent stayed with me when I wanted to give up. I had another response. My agent drove me everywhere. Like, it's that simple. That was the one thing. If you had to pick the one thing that your agent did to make you feel most supported, it's because they drove you everywhere. Like, is it that simple? But
it can be, right?
Right. So what we've done specifically with Raise is and Raise was really an effort of the industry coming together since the lawsuits and wanting to help agents articulate that value. We've been working with MLSs, associations, large brokerages, all of these large entities across the country to help agents really be able to take everything they're doing in the transaction and make sure they're setting the record right with their customers. So first off, it's actually an average of 80 to 100 hours on every transaction that agents are working. Mm-hmm.
Does it break down out of let's just go with 80, out of the 80 hours where we're spending most of our time, or no? Because I'd like to see that too.
We break it down into, and by the way, so we just launched a seller version of our product last week. And we're still gathering data on the sell side just because we just launched it. On the buy side, we have it broken down into 4 stages: consultation, tours and offers, contract, closing. Most of the time is going to be in tours and like when you're going on home tours and in the contract stage. I mean, I think that's probably a given.
Do you have something I can see like on the back end of Raise so I can see how it works or how it shows the transparency to the client? Because in the way that we've worked it with ours, right? Obviously, we're with Raise too, but if I wasn't using Raise and with you guys, it would have to be an email if I remember, or have my TC do it here and there. But it doesn't feel very complete or even transparent because they can't log in. It's just they're waiting and saying, okay, well, what's next? What's coming, right?
Yep.
So I think that becomes a challenge. I'd like to know what people are using here that are watching or listening in as you're looking for the back of this, Ashley. Everyone, let me know how you're keeping your clients updated daily, weekly, the ones that you're working with on the buyer side and or on the seller side. Is it an email through the TC that you're doing weekly? Is it a call? Is it a text? What are you using? Or are you using Raise? Maybe you are. I don't know. But tell me, how are you doing it? I'll tell you how we were doing it. We were relying on our TC to update everyone involved. That's what we were doing. But I see you're throwing on your screen a little bit. You tell me when you're ready.
You guys can see. I mean, so like I mentioned, what we've done here is, and this is again just how we're doing it, and we're not pitching product here, but more just trying to actually break down and show the client everything that's going on. It's actually about on average 200 different things that agents are having to navigate through to get their client either into a home or to successfully sell their home. And I actually don't even know if agents even know they're doing over 200 things. And so what we've done is we've actually taken those 200 different things and broken them down into what we call a journey. And we're proactively updating the clients every single time that one of these outcomes has been completed. Everything from this, like some of that initial consultation stage to when you're going on home tours, to even once we're getting into contract and closing and you're having to go through inspections, et cetera. And where this gets really powerful is actually summarizing it as we progress through the transaction. I had a client in Austin that was on his 37th home tour, hadn't written one offer yet. And so when their client went into their portal, they can actually see, in their case, the 37 homes that they rejected that their agent drove them to. So
so it keeps a record as well.
It's a fabulous record. People don't realize everything they're doing. And what we want to help agents do, or encourage agents to do with or without us, is you're doing a lot of stuff. You do a lot more than what you realize, and keeping record of that and being able to show that back to customers is valuable in a lot of different ways. It's valuable in the early stages of the transaction when you are still trying to get a buyer rep agreement signed or a listing agreement signed. Your customers want to know what it's going to be like to work together. They're going to want to understand, if we're going to work together, what kind of transparency are you going to give me? What is this journey going to look like together? I actually have a slide for this. But like, what is it?
Before you show me this one, do you break this out Or would you break this out on a listing presentation or a buyer presentation and say, hey, look, this is how I'm going to communicate with you. This is what I've got.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
What am I looking at here?
Looking at everything that an agent's doing through the transaction, we actually see it happening in a lot of different stages and want to encourage agents to continue to share their value and the transparency through every stage. If we're pre-agreement, even talking about, again, setting expectations. I had an agent in California. He had a client that he found a rental property for 7 years ago. That client was then presented with the opportunity to buy the home. The client said, hey, I still want my agent to represent me because I'm busy, but I don't want to pay you 2.5% because you didn't have to take me on a home tour. I think I should pay you 1%. Well, the agent's like, hey, I don't mind giving you a little discount because we didn't have to go on home tours, but you don't understand. I still have a lot to do. I have to work with the appraiser. I have to do inspections. I'm going to get you $15,000 in closing credits, I bet you. I'm going to save you in future repairs. I have to work with your stupid lender. That's a pain in the butt. I have a bunch of stuff to do. And so I don't mind charging you 2% instead of 2.5, but I'm not going to charge you 1. So that's just an example of like how you can actually take the breakdown of those 200 plus things that you're doing and even experience from past transactions, because as you're working through the transaction, you can articulate it in the beginning. You can provide those real-time updates during the transaction. And when you're done, if you can aggregate everything that you did and have documentation of everything you did, imagine if you had a report that said, I took you on 12 home tours. I had to write 2 offers, but we finally got you in the home of your dreams. I got you the property at 8% under asking. I got you $10,000 in closing credits. And I did this and this and this and this and this. If you had all of that, you could also take that to future customers. And quite frankly, I would share that like crazy. I would be sharing that if you have, Lofty and using Lofty Social Studio, I would be sharing that on Lofty. Even when you're using Lofty Present in the pre-agreement, I would consider thinking about not just talking about market trends and stats, but also talking about your work with all of that. And again, setting that expectation.
Got it. I love this. Pre-agreement, post-transaction, mid-transaction. So just so I understand, with the buyer side of things, how often is communication being done automatically? Is it daily? Is it multiple times a day? Is it weekly? Is it set by us? What does that look like?
The way we do it, and we're getting extremely good feedback and engagement from consumers. In some areas, we actually have a 100% consumer engagement rate, is weekly updates and also when any key milestones happen. Obviously, every transaction moves at its own pace, but what we want to do is make sure we're flagging anything that is some type of important milestone that's moving us to another phase, or summarizing things on a weekly basis.
All right. I like that. I like that a lot. All right. Anything in closing, anything that you want to mention before we let you go? Besides, Raise is awesome. Everyone check it out.
So Raise is available. Again, we've been partnering with MLSs and associations across the country. We have a fabulous relationship with Lofty. Raise is available at no cost for agents in select MLS and association areas. It is live in Phoenix if you're a member of Phoenix Realtors. It's live in Real MLS if you are a realtor in Jacksonville. And we are launching California Regional MLS, IRES in Colorado, and MLS Now in Cleveland in August. And we're launching Stellar MLS towards the end of August, and San Francisco Association of Realtors in September. So this is something today that actually a lot of MLSs and associations are providing, because they want to help agents articulate their value. They want to help close that ecosystem so you guys can compete against the Rocket and Redfins of the world. And for agents that are not necessarily part of any of those associations, we're still available too for agents to use at a cost.
All right, 2 questions. One, what's your email address? If you want to put it into the comments there. That's question
is
number
Ashley
1.
at Raise, and I'm happy to share. I have a full deck if anyone's curious about those studies. There's actually a lot more stats on there than what I shared. If anybody wants a copy of those, I'm happy to share it.
Yes, we do want those.
I will share them with you, Tristan.
That would be great. And then here's a question. David says, is it possible to over communicate with a client? How do you throttle the frequency if clients get annoyed or are too busy?
Everybody knows their customers. Investors are really common ones that don't care about that level of communication. First-time home buyers want more, and it's 100% important to be able to throttle that communication. Everybody knows what their customer wants. Our system allows agents to select how they want to share and control what they share with their customers. And I think you guys, better than anybody, know the judgment based on your customer's personality on how to do that.
Yeah, good answer. Good answer. Warren says, can you join in Georgia? And what's the cost if they don't have it in that MLS?
We charge either $25 a month for the tool or $199 a year. We are not currently available in Georgia through the MLSs. Doesn't mean that somebody can't sign up independently.
Warren just signed up. Everyone else, you will get the copy of what she's sending because she's sending it to me. So we're going to, everyone who watched this, first of all, just let me know if you want it with a yes. So I know that I'm not going to be spamming you. Do you want that deck? Yes or no? I need you to type it in, by the way. I need you to do a little bit of work. Type it in.
There's probably laws against that now. Yeah. Lots of yeses. Okay, we'll send it out. We have some good studies in there, and I actually have more that I don't have formatted in a pretty presentation, but honestly, I don't mind sending you guys the raw one too if you want to look at all the questions.
Well, those numbers, 51% and 46%, those were just crazy to see. Like,
it's insulting, honestly.
51% think we do 20 hours or less of work. That's crazy. That means I've been doing a terrible job letting them know what I'm doing.
Is people think that, but at the same time, they still said that they love their agent and would use their agent again. So even though they don't think their agent's working, they still have really good feedback about wanting to work with their agent.
Okay, so that's good.
Yeah, exactly. But what's crazy is you guys actually work more than that. So like, let's try to get, I don't want to say let's try to get more money out of them, but at the same time, like, you're worth it. You know, put the facts together and have those conversations. Cause I do think that there's room out there for you guys to make more in commissions.
I agree. Javier, it's $199 a year. It's $25 a month.
Yeah, and free in some areas. Thanks to your MLS. Your MLS is actually paying us, by the way. So for those areas that it's free, you can thank your MLS.
There you go. Your MLS doesn't suck. With that, thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate you, Ashley.
Bye. Good seeing you, Tristan.
Nice to see you too. All right. Next, we've got David Childers. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. How's Keeping Current Matters?
We're well. We're well. It's good to be on today and get to spend a few minutes together.
Yeah. I always love your updates because I take lots of notes. By the way, one of your updates, what was it? Let me see. I'm gonna do a cheat sheet here. Okay. I'm gonna log in to Keeping Current Matters really quick because I listened to your July 10th session that you recorded.
Market update. Yeah.
The market update. I listened to it. I'm just going to show people. I'm just trying to load it on the back end. Here. I'm here. I'm going to show what I did because it was very valuable. I already got feedback from my clients. This is why I'm doing this. I'm going to share my screen. All right. So on my end, it's not loading correctly, but right here, let me see if I can load this one. Yeah, it's not loading correctly on my screen. But right here would be David Childers and his latest video. And with that, I listened to it all. And after I listened to it, I downloaded the PDFs or the slides. And I literally went through the same spiel he did. I tweaked a little bit. And we sent it out to our client database that we have. And I got some great feedback. So I love that you just outline everything there for us, man. It's not loading on my end, but you're about to give it to us anyway. What's the update?
Sure. Well, I think, Tristan, right now there are three things that are happening in the market that I would say is sort of defining this market. One, we know inventory is rising in just about every market. Some markets maybe not, but inventory is rising. We know that. That then causes things to happen, takes longer to sell a home. the market starts to sort of shift. And even as Ashley was talking, I think setting the expectation is critically important for a seller or buyer right now. But inventory rising, that's having an effect. It's having an effect on price, right? We're starting to see markets that are down year over year. I'll talk about that. And, I'm not going to go into this deep today, but I think there's also, an element of, that causing listings to expire, things not selling. We've talked about that before, Tristan, expired listings. But I think inventory rising, taking longer to sell, having an effect on price is the sort of marker of what's happening today. And then I think most are wondering, what's the rest of this year going to hold? I'll cover that as well. We've got a lot of updated forecasts now that we're here. It's July 22nd. We're right, middle of the year. And many are wondering, what's the rest of this year going to look like from a sales perspective, from home price perspective, mortgage rates, certainly a big topic for sure in that. So that is my plan. We ready to get started?
Let's go, buddy. Interested or
I'm
committed?
gonna back that back. We'll get into interested and committed in just a minute.
Okay.
But hey, before I get started, I wanted to say a couple of things. First of all, grateful for Lofty and for you, Tristan Labcoat, for putting this on to get a chance to spend a few minutes with everybody. I'm gonna give you a lot of things here for the next few minutes. I'm gonna give you all of these slides. I'll show you how to grab them so that you can use them. And that's my ask, maybe as we get started, is that you do use them, that you get them out there in the hands of your clients, and you talk about what's happening in this market. Because I believe there's probably never been a better time to be the expert and be the one that's out there delivering knowledge than right now. I think a lot of people are wondering, what this market is going to be all about. Two things that I would say about that. First, one, get out your phone, take a picture of these slides if you want to. Maybe post it on social, tag Keeping Current Matters or Lofty or Labcoat. Get the message out there. That's my ask. And two, write this down. Something I think about a lot, and I want you to consider as we go through the time, if you have something to write with, is this question that I think about a lot in our business right now. And it's this. It's, do I, and this is you speaking this as yourself, do I have a relevant market opinion based upon fact? Do I have a relevant market opinion based upon fact? Because, Tristan, we live in a world right now where there are a lot of opinions. Number one, a lot of opinions about real estate, right? It's the one topic that you can take anywhere, and somebody's not in our business, but everybody cares, should I buy a home? Should I not buy a home? Are prices going up? Are they going down? Or what, whatever it is, what the home sold for down the street, there's no way it's worth that, or I can't believe how much prices, whatever the topic is, everybody is interested in hearing about that. And the question is, do I have a relevant market opinion? And this is the trick, based upon facts. Because most of the opinions that people have about our business are not based upon facts. They're based upon something they think they might have heard or something they read online, which may or may not be accurate. And so we want to be able to give them the reality of, this is what's happening in this market, and this is how you navigate this market, given what we see happening and given the facts. And I have that slide up here. And the other thing I'd ask you is, right now in our business, are you interested or committed? I've had the chance to speak to a lot of agents over the last couple of months, and some committed. I think committed agents right now are winning. That are committed to sharing the message, or committed to marketing differently, or committed to getting out there and having more conversations. A lot of people are interested right now, maybe haven't made that commitment. And I'd ask you that today. Are you interested or are you committed? And if you are committed, take action with what we're going to talk about. But let's maybe hop in with that as a backdrop and talk about this market, talk about what's happening. I will promise you will find something in here that will be valuable, that you could educate someone with. And listen, a lot of this may not be, you may not go, David, this is something that I had never heard before, right? I may tell you things that you've already known, but listen to this. Listen, why just tell someone when you could show them? That's why we exist at Keeping Current Matters, to give you what you need to show people what's happening in this market. So biggest story, if you were to ask me, inventory topped 1 million active monthly listings for the second consecutive month. Happened in May, and then in June. We'll get the July numbers here shortly. But if you look at this, this is sort of, and I'll break it down in just a minute. The white bar there is this year. We're up above the last 5 years, going back to 2020. And we're starting to see inventory rise. A lot of reasons for that. But the main reason for that, the rise in mortgage rates that happened a couple of years ago, slowed down the business, and we're seeing inventory rise. If you were to look at this as a sort of a bar graph right here, this is what this looks like. Just to put this into perspective, this is June of each year going back to 2020. So we go through 2020, the pandemic, if anybody remembers that. 2021, we sort of deplete inventories. Everybody rushes in, mortgage rates fall, and everybody wants to buy a house. And active listings have grown each year following that, right? Just over 1 million, almost 1.1 million active listings in June compared to in 2020, about 870,000 you see right there. So it's having an impact. It's absolutely, making its mark on real estate right now. And, listen, if you're in a market, which is going to be the majority of them, not all of them, I'm not saying every market's the same, majority of markets where inventory is rising, I want to use this to set the expectations with my sellers, right? Because sometimes, Tristan, somebody might think, hey, we're going to sell the house in 2 days for 50 times what we bought it for. And that may not be the case right now. It may take a little bit longer, maybe a price concession or something like that. We're seeing concessions come back in the market. I'll cover that as well. But we want to set the right expectation with people as inventory rises. What's also risen, this is June of each year, going back 5 years, days on market has risen. Right. So as you start to see the velocity kind of slow down a little bit in our business, you see that happening. And again, I think it's all things that we all feel and know in most areas of the country. And I'll show you in just a minute, not every area of the country are created equal. We're seeing definite discrepancies between the West and the South compared to the Northeast and the Midwest in what's happening. But I want to be able to bring a visual representation, and you can pull all this information inside of KCM as well for your local zip codes or city inside your MLS or wherever you grab data from, and just show people this is the reality of what's happening here in our market. I don't know why this one. Can you see that, Tristan? Or it looks like it's
no. I'm missing. I'm assuming a map. Am I missing a map?
Yeah, there's a map right here, and I don't know why it didn't upload when we uploaded this, but the reality is, if you look at this kind of stayed in here, if you can see my cursor, in June, if you see that bottom right there, 20.7% of the listings had price reductions. I can tell you areas like Arizona leads the way, more than that. I think Colorado and some Western states, more price reductions out West, but we're starting to see this return of things being overpriced or things the market not bearing what somebody thinks their home is worth. So you kind of back up and let's go back to where we started. What's happening? Inventory rising, taking longer to sell a home, and it's having an effect on price. There is no doubt that is the path that this market has taken. I'll tell you, in most places that I've been talking to agents, if something's priced right, it's selling fairly quickly. I'd have to guess the same is true maybe in your market, Tristan. I don't know if that's true in Malibu, but I don't know what priced right is there. Is that 14 million?
LA, Ventura County, if it's priced right, it sells pretty.
It's selling, right? So most of the things that are accumulating on the market are probably overpriced. This is an area too to have an honest conversation with the seller. And say, hey, this is what's happening in the market. But if we kind of back up and go here, and I'll take us back to the inventory topping 1 million units. I've kind of highlighted that green bar there. If you see it, white is this year, green is last year. And so we're sort of running parallel to last year, roughly about 20% more in inventory growth year over year. And this is why this is important. Take a look at this, Tristan. I don't know if I've shown you this and all the conversations that you and I have, but if you play that out, we sort of end up down here. Okay, so that's sort of if what happened in the first half of this year were to happen in the second half of the year, we end up, and you see those sort of grayish bars there, 2017, 2018, 2019. I call those the last three normal years in real estate. We sort of end up in active inventory in the same ballpark as those 3 years. It's a very clear visual. Listen, if you kind of pay attention to this, of a 5-year cycle in real estate. And very clear, red here is the red bar there is 2020, then inventory gets depleted. Now it's coming back after mortgage rates falling and all that we know about the business. So I'm not suggesting you want to break this out with somebody, a listing appointment or a buyer consultation or anything like this. I want you to have the confidence to say, hey, here's exactly what's happening in the market right now. We're seeing inventory return, and most places, there's this debate, buyer's market, seller's market, how many months is that, all of those kinds of things. But I would say this: we're entering into and are in probably a more balanced market. Okay, that's the first point I would make: a more balanced market. Are there pure sellers markets and pure buyers markets today? Absolutely, but by and large, a more balanced market. But here's what's more important. We're entering in a more healthy market. If we're honest with ourselves, the market in 2020, the second half of it, 21, 22, were very unhealthy. Made some money. And if you're on the call today and you weren't in that market or you didn't make any money, then I'm sorry. That's the truth there. But they were unhealthy real estate markets. Things were selling, so fast, and there was no inventory to be consumed. People abandoned their search, right? In those markets, we remember it. We're entering a more healthy market, and if we pay attention to it, we can show people exactly what's happening, exactly what's going on. I can, it's interesting. I just recorded a video yesterday that was on a similar topic. But this past presidential election cycle, which, we're coming up on the fall, it'll be a year, which is hard to believe, that was a year ago almost. It was the first election cycle that podcasters had more influence than media, than traditional, you turn on, it used to be like Dan Rather or whoever, on the news. But we live in a world now where increasingly people that are known and trusted have more authority and more sort of influence than what we traditionally think of media news outlets. And so the reason I bring that up is sharing information like this on social and wherever we share at YouTube, and getting the message out there helps people understand, and they're likely to trust that more than what they, open up the newspaper or read news on an app or however they consume things these days, to go, okay, as long as I deal in facts. The one thing that I believe happened 5 years ago in COVID, actually, is people said, I want to know. I want to know what the facts are. Then I'll make my own determination. I'll make the best decision for my family or for myself or whatever it was. We all remember that. But right now, what I want to do is I want to give the facts, and I want to apply my expert opinion. Remember, we started off and I said, do you have a relevant market opinion based upon facts? So if inventory is rising in my market, how do I then help somebody decide what's the best move? If you're selling your home, if you're trying to buy a home, set the right expectation, everything that Ashley was talking about. We spent this much time working on the transaction, or here's what's happening, or here are the mechanics of it. Certainly, I think are critically important, and the one that we want to get that out there. But let's keep this going. The reality is, the way you read this graphic, the blue bars are how much inventory has grown year over year, so over the last year. The red or green bars are the measure against pre-pandemic levels. So let's start on the west, the far right. Inventory has grown 38.3% in the last year, but check this out, up 11.4% since the pandemic. That's huge. right? Inventory has recovered as compared to the Northeast, up 17% year over year, but down 51% from pre-pandemic levels. So these markets are not all operating the same way. A lot more inventory out west and down south than there is in the Midwest and the Northeast. And so when you start to study this, you go, okay, I can start to see. And there's, I think it's important right now, and you may be listening going, well, that's not how my market's operating, or that's not what's happening here. Okay, I hear you. But every agent, every great agent needs to understand the national market, because whenever your client turns on however they consume news or where they see things, they're educated sometimes at the national level. We need to say, hey, in the West, inventory's up, or in the Northeast, inventory's down. You may be hearing that things are selling, taking longer to sell, but not here where we're at in New Jersey or whatever the case is, and be the local expert with this. Housing Wire said this: sellers also need to adapt to a high inventory environment. Pricing too high can backfire. I believe it is if buyers have more options. Offering incentives like closing cost credits, rate buy downs, similar to those used by new home builders, can make a listing more competitive. We're certainly seeing concessions come back in. National Association of Home Builders, the latest survey revealed that 37% of builders reported cutting prices in June. That's the high. Let's check this out. The highest percentage since they began tracking this figure in 2022. So definitely, I mentioned, hey, this is happening. It's having an impact on the market. And I will tell you this, there's almost 10 months of new home inventory ready to go right now, right? Inventory on new homes, newly built homes is higher than it has been in quite some time. So builders are dealing, right? We know that they're buying down rates, they're offering concessions, they're doing all the things they can do to navigate this market. And so we're certainly seeing that. If you look at this, builders cutting prices, this is April, May, June. So you see a little bit of a progression there. They're like, maybe we should, and do it a little bit more frequently. So no doubt all these dynamics that are sort of impacting this market are happening to new construction. They're happening to existing homes. I was a good friend of ours, mutual friend of ours, Tristan, Curtis Finn over at RedX. I was talking to him just a few weeks ago, and year to date, expired listings are up, I believe 17.5%. The expired listings are up, meaning, obviously we know what an expired is. The price likely was priced out of the market, didn't sell. And, you've done several things, I know, at Labcoat with RedX and with Curtis, and they have all the data on what happens to a home once it expires, when it relists, all that kind of stuff. But it's definitely having an impact. It's definitely making its mark on our business. And it leads me kind of maybe to the second point. You may have heard of, this was the graphic that Redfin posted on a buyer-seller imbalance. The green bar there kind of going up sellers, the blue bar is buyers. You see this sort of delta between it, more folks trying to sell than people can buy. I still maintain
made the rounds
people that want to buy a home right now, but just can't afford it. Affordability obviously weighs heavy on consumers right now. But no doubt people want to buy a home. They just don't know how, or kind of go, look, it's out of our reach. I'm not suggesting that people could, but they don't know how. I think there are some areas for unique products, and maybe folks don't know how much down payment they need, or think they need more than what they do. But the bottom line is it's harder to buy a home, and that's caused this imbalance. So Associated Press says fewer buyers mean less competition for home listings, putting more pressure on sellers to dial back their asking price and other concessions to help get a deal done. It's obviously a stark reversal. This is when we start talking about how do I set the expectation. It's talking about these things. These are the dynamics that are happening in the market. The old phrase, there's not good news, there's not bad news. It's just the news. And sometimes, we may shy away from saying these things because it can come off negative, or something like, no, it's great in real estate right now. Well, no, there's some things happening that we want to show people. ICE, which processes a ton of mortgage applications, we continue to see an inflection in the housing market as home price softens, expanding beyond the Sun Belt into the West. Inventory levels begin to normalize across much of the country. Prospective home buyers are finally beginning to see some long anticipated price relief. We'll see if that continues. I think most people, that don't own a home, sort of got left off the merry-go-round. I hate that, in the last few years as prices went up. I don't see a dramatic fall in price coming here in this country. We'll get into that in just a minute. But no doubt there is a buy opportunity forming for people that have the ability to go out and buy. But the message probably, truthfully, is that home price growth is decelerating. I think we'll see probably flat growth or anemic growth this year, and I'll get into it in just a minute. And some of the revised forecasts that we have, prices are still appreciating nationally, just at a very much lower rate than what we saw. I don't know if you can see my cursor on here, back during 21 and 22, when we were knocking on the door of 20% annualized price growth in homes in this country. They're not, home price is not decreasing, it's decelerating right now. I don't see it. I'll show you a couple of people that are calling for prices to slightly fall, but probably largely remain even year over year. National Association of Home Builders said home price growth slowed in the first quarter, partly due to decline in demand, increase in supply, persistent high mortgage rates, increased inventory, combined with upward pressure on house prices. These factors signaled a cooling market following rapid gains seen in the prior years that we talked about. So seeing this market certainly operate differently. This is the big story that's out there. We shouldn't shy away from it. 22 of the largest 50 markets have more active listings on the market than they did pre-pandemic. Remember, we talked about that in the South and the West. And oh, by the way, it's having an impact. So this is a look from Resi Club and Lance Lambert. They do a phenomenal job there. I would say, even the markets that we saw, these 22 markets you see there in red, led by Tampa, Florida, and Phoenix and Orlando, a lot of Florida markets over there. The majority of those are down 3 to 4%, maybe. You see the top two outliers, 5%. I will tell you this, a couple things that are interesting about this. You can say with confidence. Hey, Lori, you see that? Grateful for that. Here's something you can say confidently. Every state and every city in this country is up on price over the last 5 years. The markets that are down saw enormous price appreciation in the past 5 years. You take Phoenix, you take Austin, Texas, you take Tampa, Florida, or some of the markets in Florida. Punta Gorda is always one of the ones that's listed as sort of the leader in coming down in price. A lot of those markets went up 60, 70% in the last 5 years. So if you had any investment and you said, listen, it's going to go up 70% in 5 years, but it's going to come down 5% the last year, are you still in? Most people would go, I'm in, right? It's still a positive thing. I would caution you to keep that into perspective. The way this is played out in the media is people go, okay, is this a precursor for what's going to happen across the rest of the country? I don't tend to think we're going to see this massive fall, and it's not supported by data. The Home Price Expectation Survey, which sort of forecasts this year and 5 years out, has forecasted very normal price appreciation, 3 to 4% in the coming years. So I don't see this departure to, a la 2008 in what's happening with prices. But the question, and I know I'm kind of running through this, I'll pause for a second, Tristan. Any questions coming in there? Anything you want to add to that before I hop into the second half?
One thing, because you and I talk about this all the time, right? We're always sharing data, slides, information.
Yeah.
One thing that always comes up is people, when I post on TikTok, so I have this daily real estate news. I get people in there saying, "Oh, you're wrong. It's going to crash. It's going to crash. Everything's going to die." Right.
Sure.
And I always like to show or remind people that 2008, we had 4 million active listings, right? 4 million. And right now we're at what is this? 1.2, 1.3 now?
Active's not even 1.1.
There-
Remember we said it just crossed over.
Yeah.
It's
It's not even
ahead.
close. And I think that the key understanding is that in what we're watching is that it is a completely different market when you're looking at the South and part of the West, not even all of it, and then the Northeast. It's almost like you have three markets. And the market down South, I think, has been, and this is from your slides, by the way, David. When I studied the slides and the information that you guys created, I noticed that a lot of these areas that are being pushed with more and more inventory, which is causing prices to come down because it's also unaffordable, is also areas that have a high amount of new construction.
Sure, right.
And so that adds another layer to it. And when we look at the Northeast, which not a lot has been built, right? The demand is still high.
There's just not space for it. I mean, that's the ultimate, issue.
Those prices are still going up. Days on market is still crazy. And then in the West is where you have a mix because you're watching Las Vegas suffer, right? All of a sudden, Las Vegas is suffering. And then parts of California, it's like Jekyll and Hyde. It's like some parts are suffering and then some parts are doing crazy amazing. Yeah. It's a very interesting world, man. That's all.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's operating, in very, very different ways. And I think right now the opportunity in that is we can bring clarity to what's happening right where we're at, right? You may be hearing this, you may be hearing that, a lot of things different happening. And I think you could do the daily piece going, hey, here's what's happening today. Here's the number of homes on the market. Here's what's happening in the mortgage market. Here's what's happening, buyers, sellers, whatever it is, to help people sort of, clarify it because there's so much confusion out there of what's going to happen. So let's hop in here. Second half of 2025, give you some updated, forecast so that you have clarity on that. Oh, I've dropped this in here. If you want these slides, I want to give them to you. Okay. Scan this QR code. You can go hit a site, put your email address. It'll shoot them to you. You have them all. Use them. That's my only ask. We started off this way is use them out in your market to get the message out. Tristan, you do a great job of that. You're always posting and getting the message out there and use that. So we'll hop on from that. But Greg McBride at Bankrate said this: home price appreciation may be tepid. He's talking about this year. When looking at a 30,000 or 35,000 foot view, many markets seeing little or no change in price, but rising inventory has some formerly hot markets shifting to a seller's market, to a buyer's market, and will be susceptible to price decline. Certainly seeing that happen. These are 8 forecasters that we follow that have updated their forecast for price appreciation here. And you see the majority of them say around 3% price appreciation. It looks like a couple, Redfin and Zillow, saying we will fall in price in this country, average about 2% home price forecast. If you were to ask me nationally, somewhere between 1% and 2%, very flat, anemic price growth in this country, but not a sort of massive price departure. It's very interesting. Back in 2008, in the great financial crisis, homes lost about 20% of their value nationally. Biggest drop in value ever in this country. I'll also tell you another couple of things I'll just rattle off real quick here. Last year in this country, there were just over about 300,000 foreclosures. Certainly don't want to see anybody foreclosed on, but it is a fact in our business. It happens. Back in the great financial crisis, there were 9 million. So,
wow.
So 300,000 last year compared to 9 million. The way those numbers shake out, the most recent foreclosure numbers in this country, 1 in 758 homes was foreclosed on. 1 in 758. Back in 2008, that number was 1 in 45. So
massive
radically different. Not seeing anything like that. And I truthfully think there are a ton of investors waiting on the sidelines going, hey, when it happens, I'm going to grab 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever the case is. And I don't see that coming.
David,
ahead.
could you go back to the slide where we scanned the QR code? A couple people missed it.
Okay, yeah. I went through there fast. If you didn't have your phone out, you probably missed it. So yeah, grab that. You can get all of these slides. Again, my ask is that you use it and get those out there. If you have any questions on it, you can email me to david@keepingcurrentmatters.com.
All right, got it.
Mike Simonson, the vibes for home prices are growing much more bearish for the rest of 2025. We can see inventory levels, especially in the Sun Belt, are now sufficient to put downward pressure on home prices. It seems likely to continue and spread to more states. However, there isn't much data that shows significant price declines. Agree with Mike 100% on that. I threw this in there. This is just interesting. It's each one of these 8 forecasters where they originally started this year to where they are. 3 have gone up. The majority have gone down, which again, not shocking. As we go throughout the year, they go, I don't know if we're going to see as much activity based on this. There's certainly a more, conservative look at price, even mortgage rates. Nobody wants to stick their toe out and go, this is exactly what's going to happen, because they don't know. They are a forecast. James Egan at Morgan Stanley said, looking ahead to the rest of the year in 2026, we don't expect mortgage rates to come down much, at least not through the third quarter of this year. So affordability will remain pressured. Totality, Selma Hepp, love all the work she does. The prospect of elevated mortgage rates throughout 25 suggests the housing market activity will continue to be challenged. This is what those that we watch and forecast rates on a continual basis, MBA, Fannie, Wells Fargo, what they're saying. This is a look to the end of next year. So the orange is sort of where we've been. Where are we going to go? I don't see anybody saying we're going to break through 6. Could we? Certainly we could dip our toe. This is all based on incoming data. What's going to happen? So unless you have a crystal ball, you don't know that. But most forecasts are that we go into the lower 6s in the next year. And I'm not saying that wouldn't be a good thing. Certainly would be a very good thing. We want to see that happening. Sales will remain low, but up slightly from the last year. I would say even, probably sold just over 4 million existing homes in this country last year. You see the forecast from all the different houses that sort of predict that. Slightly more homes, but we'll call it flat year over year, no doubt. New homes, again, probably by a hair will sell more, but we'll call that flat as well. A new home forecast. This market is all about, how do I get the message out? How do I be the knowledge broker? How do I ultimately show people what is happening so they can make the best decision? I'll throw this QR code up. I don't have it. I was going to throw it up again. Let me go back to it in case anybody missed that. I want to give that to you. I know folks were asking for that. Give you that.
Yeah. A couple of times again.
Yeah. So we'll leave that up there for a second. I want to show you one other thing, a study that was done, and I think is very, very positive for what we do. Hopefully everybody scanned that QR code right here. 49%, there's a recent survey done on home ownership. 49% of adults in this country are interested in buying a home. So a message I want to leave you with, Tristan, I want to leave you with this. 49% of the people, 1 out of 2, let's call that, want what you sell, want what we have, right? That's great news. 31% believe it's unattainable for one reason or another. We have work to do. We've got a job to do to help people understand how they can buy a home. Buying a home is the number one way people build wealth in this country. I'm not suggesting that's what it should only be, but it's a good thing. Makes an impact in people's lives and people want to do it. So leave you with that, Tristan. Always great to be on with you and be on with Lofty. And if there are any questions, I'll take those, but grateful for that.
No, everybody was just happy to have you here. The slides, everyone wants those amazing slides to use up and then study and probably put them into their listing presentation as well. So
yeah. I would highly encourage it. Use it on a social post, put it in a presentation, however you can get them out there.
All right. Thanks for being on, man. Appreciate you.
You got it. Take care.
Thanks. All right. We've got Verl. What's up, Verl? How are you, man?
Man, I'm out of control, but I'm great. How you doing?
Great. I don't know if you guys know each other, but there you go. Now you guys can
I haven't
connect.
seen it. I saw Burl in Charleston, South Carolina a year ago. It's good to see you again, buddy.
Yeah, you too.
Verl, we also got Candace. Do you want me to bring her on as well or no?
She's here supporting me, so you're
Perfect.
welcome to let her in the room, so she's like knows what's up. She's making sure that I dot the I's and cross my T's.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Everyone, we've got Verl Workman here, building your A team, creating a culture of productivity. Verl, for those people, I think just one person out there that doesn't know you, can you let us know what you do, how you do it, and how you got into all this?
Yeah, so boy, that's a big one, but I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. So we're Workman Success System out of Salt Lake City, Utah. We have a team that focuses primarily on high-performing brokerages and teams. And so we coach some of the biggest performers in the world. We're really good at teams. We do teams. That's what we do. We specialize in them. I like to say that if I don't know how many companies you're familiar with that are wildly successful that run as companies of one, but I can't think of any. And so team means leverage. And so we help leaders become leaders. A lot of people start out as real estate agents, but no one really teaches them how to lead or how to create systems and processes to build their A teams. And that's what we do. We have almost 100 coaches. Our coaches are all clients before they become coaches. So they're in production, most of them, and they're either coaching or performing at a level higher than the people they coach. So you get a really high level of coaching. A lot of people are good at selling coaching, but not good at delivering it because they hire people that aren't really in the business to do it. We're the opposite. We're not really aggressive salespeople. Most of our business comes from raving fan clients and presentations we do for companies and brands like you that ask us to come in and help their people. And so that's what I'm here to do, is to teach you how we think about creating a great culture of production. If you're a team leader and you're struggling getting your people to do the right things, if you're trying to figure out how to hire the right people or how to compensate them, I believe that anything you do 3 times, you have to have a system for it. And so we're called Workman Success Systems because we have systems for everything. And last, I'll just say that my belief is that greatness is predictable, and so is average. And if we track the right things, we can predict the outcome. And I know if you're focused on the right things, you can get a predictable, great thing. So wherever you are in your business or life, if you want to go to another stratosphere, stick around, because this is going to be a powerful 50 minutes of no bull crap. Here's how we really create a culture of accountability on our teams.
That's a great intro. I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go where you are. Just take me.
All right. Okay. Most importantly, I'm a dad. I have 6 children, 3 boys, 3 girls, and 12 grandkids, 11 and a half. And we focus on creating a great family. I work so that I can live well and enjoy my family and spend time together. 3 of my married kids all work with me in the company, and I'm blessed to be able to have them. And I think that's a testament to the culture we create and also the environment that we create. If your kids don't want to work in your business, you're probably not doing it right. And so think about that.
Very true. Very true. That's really why we're all here, right? That's it.
Yeah. But most people miss it. They miss it. And they look back and they say, I was just trying to provide a better life for my family. And what they really did is they spent all of their time being focused on other things besides their family, thinking that they wanted the money. And it's not about the money. What they want is your time. And so how do you buy that back? And we do that with leverage. I don't know how this system works. I'm going to click slides. Share screen.
There you go. Just pick whatever one you want, and then I'll pop it into the screen if it doesn't do it once it's there.
Share screen. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's see.
Pick your weapon.
It's not giving me the monitor that I want to share. So what I want to share is my keynote on monitor 2.
If you've got a slide deck, you can send it over in the chat and we can put it up for you too, if that works. Just in case.
Hey, I'm a professional here.
Or Candace can throw it on as well.
Entire screen. Desktop 1. Share. Okay.
All right, let's see what we got.
Tell me what you see. Download resources.
Scan to download resources, building your A team. There we go.
Okay, you seeing a single slide or you seeing 2?
I am seeing one slide.
Okay, perfect. So we're talking about building your A team. Okay, so I'm going to give everybody some free stuff today. So I'm going to give you this right now so you can just scan some resources, get my downloads, get that out of the way. And then I'm going to talk about how do we build our A teams and create a culture of productivity within our teams. I'm going to start by setting this up. And here's how I set this up is that I believe that our experiences that we've had in our life up until now create our beliefs. And that based on our beliefs, we take certain actions in our business and our life. And because of those actions, we get our results. Now, I'll give you an example of that. So I used to sell hot tubs at the state fair. I know, right? That was me. I was that guy. And
wow.
I know that, like, I'm 21 years old. I've started my first business. I'm selling satellite dishes and hot tubs. And I remember setting a goal to sell 10 hot tubs. And the reason is because my goal that year was to make $50,000 that year. To make $50,000 more than my dad ever made. My experiences in life was my dad was a school teacher, and that I knew if I could make $50,000, it was more than my dad made, that would be a success. And so I set my goals and I behaved a certain way, and we got at the end of the fair and I sold my 10 hot tubs and I was so excited. I went and bought a frozen lemonade, and then I turned around. The guy behind me is wearing a shirt that says Cal Spas. I'm like, dude, nice. Cal Spas, how you doing? He says, oh, we're doing fine, son. That's what he called me. And I said, he goes, how about you? And I said, oh, I'm doing fine. We got our goal. He goes, what was your goal? I said, well, I don't want to say, but we sold 10. And he said to me, well, good for you. Like, that's cute. I'm like, well, how many did you sell? He said, we sold 10 this afternoon. I said, well, how many did you sell? He says, we sold 100. That just took me, that moment changed my life, because my experiences, meaning I didn't have any, formed my belief in what was possible. Sell 10. And so I took the actions that got me to 10. And guess what my result was? 10. I had an experience in that moment that says 10's a dumb goal. You can do 100, but you can't do it the way you're currently doing it. So I went over and I put on a disguise, and I sent all my brothers and sisters over to shop their booth to find out what they did. And I copied their actions, and I built my booth the next year exactly like they did. And we sold 70 hot tubs. I found someone who was getting the result that I wanted, and I changed it, and I copied their actions, and it changed my belief in what was possible. If you feel stuck because you can't get past where you are right now, it's not your fault. It's normal. It's that your experiences have formed your belief, and you're behaving based on what those are. And you can't get to the next stratosphere unless somebody crushes your beliefs and creates a new experience for you. And I'm hoping that today will be that new experience. And so what we do is we find the gaps, we break down the things that are not working for you, we create new experience and change your belief in what's possible. And that's how we get a different result. It's not that your beliefs are bad. It's that they're limited by your experiences. Does that make sense?
100%, man. It makes total sense. That's the way to go.
I mean, I spent years being at the same level of sales in my coaching business. And I hired a guy from the outside of the industry to come in and ask me questions. And he asked me questions like, why do you do it like that? And I said, well, that's how we've always done it. Everybody in the industry does that. He goes, well, I'm not from your industry, and we don't do it that way. We do it this way. I'm like, well, that won't work. He goes, well, how do you know it won't work? No one in your industry does it. I said, you're right. He says, well, try this. And I went and did it. And it was the single thing that took me from $1 million to $5 million to $10 million in revenue in year-over-year growth. The difference was one thing from somebody who created a different experience and changed my belief. You can't get here by doing what got you to where you are today. We have to do things differently. And so here we are as team leaders trying to figure out how to lead our teams. And we have to lead them through uncertainty. And I'm going to say that team members want an example of how to do it right. You can't stand on the sidelines and tell them what to do. You got to show up. And you have to teach them and allow them to fail so they have the experiences that will help them grow. And then I want you to know that we don't have people problems, we have process problems. And so if your people aren't performing at the level you think they should be, how do you create new experiences for them to change their beliefs in what's possible? We don't have a people problem, we have a process problem. I don't know.
I'm just taking notes right here, man. This is good. Just so you know.
Yeah. And then I'm going to tell you another Verlism is that which gets measured gets done. If we measure the right things, then you'll know they get done. And do I have any sports fans in the group here? Like, if we have any sports fans, Harold, you think about this for a second. In sports, baseball, hockey, basketball, whatever you follow, football, what do they track?
They track percentages, numbers, how often you missed, how often you made it.
I was watching a basketball thing the other day. Utah Jazz are not the greatest team on the planet, and they're rebuilding. And they were talking about the new young drafts that they just picked up from the draft. They have like second or third overall picks. They have really high level drafts. And they showed a chart, and they showed us all the spots that this forward shoots from and the percent of accuracy from every single spot. Yeah. They track assists, they track rebounds, they track percentages from the free throw line. They track percentages from the free throw line in game-winning situations. They track everything. And the reason they track it, because then they can focus on where the gaps are and coach to the gaps. That which gets measured gets done. Anything we do 3 times, we create a system for it and we track it. You want to know why teams fail? They fail because a lack of clear leadership. They do opportunity hires. They don't have the right compensation. They have a poor culture. They don't have a clear vision. They have bad hiring practices, and they have a lack of profitability. They face what we call the 5 dysfunctions of a team. Patrick Lencioni wrote a book called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And he said, look, you want to know why teams fail? They don't have a system of established core values. They have an absence of trust. The team leader doesn't trust the team members. They don't give them the A leads. The team members don't trust the team leaders. They don't do the hard things. Absence of trust is massive. Fear of conflict. When you don't have healthy conflict in your business, you cannot grow. You think about this as a business leader. When people attack systems instead of people, that's when we grow. Hey, why are you doing it? What if we did it like this? When you're attacking the process, all of a sudden we innovate. I think conflict is great. If you don't have healthy conflict in your business, you cannot grow, and your meetings are boring. I want my people to show up and say, it's one way to do it, but have you thought about this? And let's attack every process and see if we can find better ways of doing things. Avoidance of accountability is a huge one, and it's not what you think it is. It's not team members avoiding being held accountable to follow up with their lofty leads. Avoidance of accountability most of the time comes from a team leader. Avoidance of conflict. And because they don't want to follow up or follow through, they avoid accountability, and they say, I don't know why the agencies don't do it. I always do it.
Yeah.
Accountability is not something you do to someone. It's a culture you create, and it's based on love. I'm going to spend a lot of time on that today. And then inattention to results. And that's basically choosing to track the things that will move the needle the most. Measuring profitability, putting people on the right compensation plans, inattention to results is a big deal. Focusing on the things that will move the needle the most. I'm gonna throw this out here. You tell me if this is true.
Okay.
How many of the people do you think that are lofty clients that if I got in their database and started making calls, I would find lost income?
Dude, almost everyone.
Right.
Probably everyone. Everyone can improve. So I'd say everyone.
Okay. So we have what lack or what dysfunction do we have when we're leaving money on the table? All of them.
Good answer.
All
Dude, yeah. I was actually looking through. I was like, which one? So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's all of them, right? Okay, so now we have this avoidance of accountability. So what is accountability? Let's define it. I'm going to say accountability. Look, like you and I have known each other for years in the business. We're both independent entrepreneurs. We both run businesses that are successful. I happen to know for a fact I cannot make you do anything you don't want to do. Is that true?
True.
So what's the crap about accountability? Accountability is not something that I do to you. Accountability is an environment I create where you choose it. But if you don't choose it, it doesn't exist. Accountability is your personal choice to rise above your current circumstances and demonstrate the ownership needed for achieving a different result. It's your choice. It's not something I'm going to do to you. Accountability is choosing. And I think it's so cool. It's not something that you make someone do. It's an environment you choose where they create it. We learned this from The Wizard of Oz. There's a great book, I don't know if you read this one, called The Oz Principle. And The Oz Principle, it follows the characters through the Emerald City and the journey on the Yellow Brick Road. You know, you got the cowardly lion and the scared scarecrow and the Tin Man that doesn't have a heart, and Dorothy that wants to go back to Kansas. And each one of them have this personal journey that they want something they don't have. And if they just could find the wizard, then they'd be able to get these things. And they get there and they find out that the wizard's a fraud. And they got all mad and said, "Wizard, you're a fraud." And he says, "Okay, I'm going to pull the curtains back. Guess what? You already had the courage. You already had the heart. You already have the brain. And you already have the ability to go back to Kansas. You just had to choose it." And what we learned from this story is that we have everything we need to be successful, but we don't choose accountability. We choose to blame it on everything else. So I call below the line. And so when you're choosing accountability, you look at something and you see it and you go, "Oh my gosh, there's a problem." Now we have a choice point right here. The first choice people make usually is to see whose problem it is. It's not my problem. My broker didn't do it. My team leader didn't give me the leads. My agents didn't follow up with the people. All Lofty leads aren't that good. I want to pay 40% for Zillow leads. Like, these are all below the line comments where you blame someone or something else for the results you're getting. When you want to move from below the line to above the line, you first see the problem and recognize that, hey, we have a problem. We're not converting our leads. Then you own the problem. Whose problem is it? It's not Lofty's problem. It's your problem. You're not following up. Change what you say. Own it. Whose problem is it? It's my problem. I own it. And then what am I going to do to solve it? I'm going to put a system in place so I don't continue to do what I've been doing because it's not working. And then we actually do the activities. When you see it, you own it as mine. Then you focus on solving and doing it. You quickly move from below the line where you blame others and play "it's not my fault, it's somebody else's responsibility" to above the line. It's how we clearly move from where we are to the next place. Here, I got to see something for just a second. There it is. Okay. I wanted this slide right here. It's how we move from average to exceptional. Is we see it, own it, solve it, and do it. We personally take responsibility for our actions. The reasons teams fail and they have massive turnover is because they don't establish a culture of productivity. They don't have clear set expectations, and they create compensation that disincentivizes the team leader to do the right thing for the team members.
Yeah, that's right.
So if I overpay my buyer's agent, I can't give him my A leads. So I put fair compensation in place so the team leader is incentivized to give all the leads to the team members. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And so instead of blaming the agents don't want to do the work, instead of blaming the team leader for never giving me the stuff, I want to look at the problem, what the real problem is, and own it. What do I need to change in order to make this relationship in greater balance so that it encourages the behavior I want from my team member or from my team leader? And remember that the secret to this is you always had the power. And the most important person to get you above the line is not somebody else, but it's you making the choice. Okay, now these are some deep thoughts as we get into what accountability is and what it isn't. By the way, good start so far?
So far, so good, man. You're connecting with all of us. So it's a beautiful thing.
All right. Well, you know, I've just learned that in every environment, I've found myself as a leader lacking in all of these areas. And I've had to learn and grow and struggle and read and study to try and find different ways of developing as a leader, because there's really not any great leadership development and training in real estate.
True.
And so here we find ourselves as team leaders, or we're running these companies and we're good at selling houses, but no one's teaching us how to actually change behavior in individuals. And it starts by changing the way we show up for our people. And that's probably the thing that I struggle with the most and that I have to do the most personal development on, because I'm just blowing and going and I just don't understand why everybody doesn't do it the way it is, because they're wired differently. Yeah, and so now I understand that it's on me. If I want my people to perform better, I have to show up differently. It's not on them. It's on me as a leader. You got high turnover. Don't blame it on your market. Don't blame it on rates, and don't blame it on the competition. Get the mirror out, look in the mirror, and blame it on the person you see, because that's where the problem is. And the moment you recognize that, that's when your business will start taking shape, and that's when you'll grow. Maybe that was painful.
No, it's truthful.
But it's said from, I'm coming from a place of, hey, look, I have the same problems and I've been working on trying to solve it as you do as leaders. And so no, there's no judgment here. You just have to recognize it. And as soon as you recognize it, then we can start to work on it. Accountability is love. I'm going to say that. I don't know if any of you have kids. I have 6. So I've learned that if I tell my kids that, I don't know why I'm harder on my daughters, but curfew, my youngest one is just graduated from high school. Curfew's 12 o'clock. I want her home at 12 o'clock. Not because I don't trust her. It's because I love her so much. I never want to have her to put herself in a situation where she has to make hard choices. Think about that. I love her so much that when she doesn't come home at 12, I put my hand out and say, give me your phone. And she starts screaming and crying like I'm ripping her arms and limbs out of their sockets. No, you can't take my phone. I'm like, you chose not to come home. I just want to remind you why it's so important. I love you so much. I wasn't doing anything. I don't care. I said that because I know that nothing good happens after midnight. It's because we love them so much that we want them to be safe, and we want them to be able to, when they're by themselves, make good choices at some point. So accountability is love. It's not a bad thing. And so we create accountability. I'm going to say with a real estate team that accountability happens as a culture, and it starts by doing a daily huddle, 10 to 15 minutes. We do business development, people development. We practice scripts and dialogues. We do daily success habits. I'll show you some of these tools. And we follow and we prospect for an hour a day as a team. If we did that, your problems would go away as a leader. If you met every day and you huddled, you looked at their daily success habits, you did role play scripts and dialogues, you got on the phone and you prospected, and you did that every day for an hour, your whole team dynamic would change. Your culture would get better. Accountability would happen. People would start showing up, or they'd self-eliminate, and everybody would make more money as a result. And so every business, every team, every family has a culture that is either intentionally created or it's accidentally created. And you get to choose as the leader what you want your culture to be. I like to say, if I have to manage you, I don't need you. But the truth is, if I don't manage you, I don't love you.
That hits differently when people understand that. I like that.
Yeah. But if you don't set it up correctly, they don't understand it. So we start by, it starts from day one. These are some of the things that we share. It's like when you interview someone, here's the questions you ask. When you do a buyer's agreement, they have a buyer's agreement that talks about splits and compensation. We do 40-60 on the first 2 deals they do in a month, 45-55 on deals 3 and 4, and 50-50 on 5+. We teach our team leaders to run a business that's profitable. You have a responsibility to create stability and security for the people you lead. And if you're not profitable, you can't do that. And you need to be profitable at a 50% gross profit after your cost of sale. And then we have a document called the 10 things to be on my team. They got to show up at the office for their huddles. They have to do 61 points every day. They have to complete their daily success habits tracker and workbench. They have to work their top 50. They have to use the tracking system for the ABC lead follow-up. I'm going to teach you that today. They got to keep 100 contacts in their active database and do 4 SOI touches a year. And they've got to do 2 open houses, and they have to close 2 open houses a month, and they have to close 2 deals a month. I don't want them on my team unless they're doing 24 deals, and I'm going to pour into them until they do. I create an environment, and I set the expectations to sign this. How many of you have team members that if they were doing 2 deals a month, it would change their life?
Yeah.
And they're full-time agents, right?
Yes.
And so we are letting them down as leaders by not creating an environment where they can take care of their families, because $100,000 a year is not even barely enough to raise a family today. And so if you're letting them wallow in mediocrity and not creating environments where they do at least 2 deals a month, what you're saying to them is they're not important enough to you to develop them so they can help their families buy homes and be investors and let their kids play comp sports instead of rec sports. by allowing them to leave their work and leave their homes every day, come to your office and pretend to be successful by not doing any dollar productive activities, you're basically saying, I don't care enough about you or your family, so I'm going to let you wallow in your mediocrity. Now, I know you don't feel that way, but our actions speak so much louder than our words. And so we create that by having this culture that is either intentional or accidental. And many of us are just good at selling houses and we don't know what to do with these people. So we got to have someone in our lives that lay out a plan for us. And that's what I'm going to try and do today. I'm going to lay this out. It starts with your core values. These are different teams' core values. The core values are we hire and fire to these core values. When you look at my desk right here, these are my core values sitting on my desk. When somebody gets hired at Workman, they sign a list of core values. It's their employee handbook. They get a plaque that sits on their desk. We talk about it in our company meetings. Choose to be happy, communicate openly and honestly, have and share vision, integrity always, live with passion, live freely, show gratitude, and we persist until we succeed. That one at the very end solves all the problems you have with anything lead follow-up that Lofty's ever had an issue with. We persist until we succeed. How long do we follow up with someone? We follow up until they buy or tell you to die. We follow up until they file a restraining order. We follow up. Now, what if you did that? If someone's not following up with their leads that have been generated, what core values are being violated? Well, they're not doing persist until we succeed. They're not communicating openly and honestly with their clients. They told me they'd follow up and follow the system, but they're not doing it. So where's the integrity in that? Multiple core values are being broken by not following up with leads. I can solve pretty much any problem that any team leader has with their core values. How cool is that, right?
Very.
We hire to them and we fire to them, and we get great adoption. If you don't have a set of core values or your team members don't do it, then have the team get involved with you in setting up and establishing your core values so they take ownership of it. And then the team presents them, and then every week talk about a different core value, and then catch people living that value and see how they start showing up for each other and showing up for their clients and showing up for their families. Live freely, this core value we have, live freely. That means debt free. I want my people to have no debt, and I want them to be able to make enough money that they can eliminate debt so they can buy real estate. One year I had 3 or 4 employees that all were first-time home buyers that worked for me, that all wanted to buy houses. We put a whole program together, and all 3 of them bought homes. And it was so cool because if they had a bunch of debt, car debt, other debt, they wouldn't have been able to qualify. But because of that simple thing of live freely, it changed the outcome for people that weren't commission salespeople. Isn't that fun?
Very.
It's kind of a different way of looking at values. The next thing I want to know is that when you hire people to be on your team, instead of hiring them to serve you so you can have a better life, what if, as a leader, you hired people and looked at each one of them individually and said, how can I help you have a better life? I'm here to serve you as a leader, not the other way around. We do vision boards with all our employees. We teach all of our teams to do vision boards. Why? Because I want to know what's important to them. And I look at these. They're important to have relationships. They want to travel. They want health and fitness. They want to dream big. They want to have date night. The one on the right is John Miller. He's an IT guy. He runs all of our Coach Simple and AI projects. And I look at what John wants in his life. He wants to take his kids to Disney World. And I love that picture's on there. And I love creating an environment that allows them to be able to do that. My job as a leader is to help them get the things that they want most in their lives. Think about that. If your people know that you show up every day trying to help them get what they want, what do you think their commitment to you is going to be?
A lot higher than originally.
Yeah.
They came in.
Right. But if you just, if you just say the words but don't live it, then it shows up very differently. All right. So vision boards, we do this with our teams. We do it. And I make them have balance, not just financial, but balance. Family, faith, friends, fun, fitness, and food are my 6 important things in life. I added food because I love food.
I love food too. We have that in common.
And I love fishing. I could add fishing as a 7th.
Nice.
So when we clearly define people's roles and responsibilities, it's what creates accountability. When there's murky waters and nobody knows what they're supposed to do, there's no clarity. And when there's a lack of clarity, there's a lack of accountability. And so it's not that they don't want to be held accountable. It's just they're not sure what they're being held accountable to. And so if you have specialists that are buyer specialists and listing specialists and client care specialists and prospecting specialists and ISAs, when they know what their role is, it's really easy to create accountability. But when you have generalists and everybody does everything, nobody knows what the most important or highest level of thing is. And so I'm a big believer in creating specialists on teams and then taking the time to clearly define roles and responsibilities and then the actions that they can measure to know whether or not they're winning each day. What do I have to do to know that I'm winning today? The salespeople are probably the easiest to do. If I were to go in and I were to, this is a question for all of the listeners. If we were to evaluate your lead follow-up, what kind of a grade would you give yourself?
You know, I'd say,
yeah,
on average, most people are gonna. I would say, if they're realistic, it's gonna be under a 5 out of 10.
So a failing grade.
Yeah, definitely.
That would be an F in school, right? Less than 50%.
Yeah, I mean, unless we're playing baseball, then we're doing pretty good, but we're not. We're not.
Not, are we?
No.
I'm just saying follow. I don't care about conversions. I just want to do follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what I've learned. We do this and we go into companies and we'll look at all their follow-up and we'll track it. And these are true numbers. 48% of leads that come in never get followed up with.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Hey, and then you know what they say? Your leads suck. No, they don't. Your follow-up sucks. Of the leads that do get followed up with, this is kind of interesting. 25% only make the second call and then they stop. So first, half of them don't get called. And then half of those, 25% of those, get a second call. 12% of those get a third call.
Wow.
10% of those get more than 3 calls. Guess where the money is?
Way further in, right?
Look at this. 2% of sales are made on the first call. It's like nothing. 3% are made on the second call. 5% conversions happen on the third call. Here's where the money is. 80% of sales are made between the 5th and the 12th contact. And 90% of agents have stopped following up after one.
Dang.
So what do? We don't have people problems. We have process problems. So instead of saying you guys suck, what we say is, I'm so sorry. I haven't put a better process in place that we follow to convert more of these opportunities because there's gold in our database. And we put a process in. I know you probably know this, but I sold my last company to homes.com. We get hired by companies to come in and help high volume lead generation companies to come in and help with conversions, to help them get higher levels of conversions. We work with lots of different types of teams, as well as high volume lead generators. And one of the things we implement with all of them is the ABCs of lead follow-up. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to teach that to everybody today.
Please.
Okay. The first thing we have to do is we have to identify what each lead is, and we have to create nomenclature. We have to create a culture where everybody speaks the same language. An A lead is someone who is ready to buy or sell now, and you have a scheduled appointment with them. A stands for appointment. A lot of teams call A leads they're ready to go, but they don't have a scheduled appointment with them. They're just not ready to go with you. I want to know you have an appointment with it. So when I say to my team, how many A leads do you have? And they say 8, I say, great, show me your calendar. And I look at 8 appointments scheduled. It also teaches my buyer's agents when they go out and show houses Saturday, if they don't write, to schedule the next appointment, not to say, well, I'll send you some more houses. If something you want to see next week, we'll go out. That is not an appointment. You say, okay, let's get it down. You want to go at the beginning of the week or the end of the week? You want to go Monday or Tuesday, morning or afternoon, 1 o'clock or 3? We schedule appointments, and that's a script. So we always schedule the next appointment because it keeps our people moving forward in the process. Your job as a buyer's agent is to find them 2 houses to look at, right? Okay, so an A lead is someone who's ready to buy or sell, and we have a what? Appointment. Okay, B leads. They're 30 to 90 days out. And everybody that's identified as a B lead is going to get a call twice a month in the database. And we're going to call specifically during the week that the 1st falls in and the week that the 15th falls in. I'm going to call them twice a month. Hey, this is Verl. I'm just calling to make sure I'm not dropping the ball. Are you getting the properties my system is sending you? Anything you want me to change in the search? So I noticed that you're looking for a 3-car garage. Is it because you have 3 cars? You do toys? Oh, I do motorcycles. That's so funny. I love motorcycles. I'm going to ask questions that develop relationship, right?
Yep. Yep.
And so we're going to find a common bond. So we call them twice a month during the weeks. The first falls in and the 15th falls in. A C lead, we're going to call once a month during the week of the 8th. And they're 90 days or more out. We call them once a month. So now as a team, what's the date today, by the way?
Today's the 22nd, Tuesday.
Yep. So the 22nd, we work on our top 50 or our sphere of influence. And so now we have the A's have an appointment. B's we call twice a month during the weeks the 1st and the 15th falls in. C's we call once a month during the week of the 8th. And we work our sphere and database during the week of the 22nd. What do I just give you?
A process. You gave me a process.
I gave you a system.
Yeah.
Now, for those that are listening to this and go, I don't know if that system works. I use a similar system. I'm just going to say that my clients are converting leads at a really high level. And we have many of them that are making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million a year in commissions. And they follow the system. And so if you're making less than that, I'm going to encourage you to follow the behavior of people that are getting a better result than you and just copy it. And that'll create a new experience for you. So the next time I give you something, you'll believe it and you'll do it because it creates a better result. So just copy it. Greatness leaves clues. And this is one of them.
It's a shortcut.
It's a shortcut. You know what, though? It's simple, but it's not easy.
That's true.
If it was easy, everybody would already be doing it. So let me give you another one. So that's one good system. Now, when you start getting big teams and you've got lots of agents working your leads, and when you have a company like Lofty that is doing top of the funnel and doing lead follow-up, and you've got all this database in here, how do we know if the agents are actually doing it all? It's really difficult. So I'm going to give you a system we created. This was created by Cleve Gaddis, one of my master coaches. He runs a $2 million team out of Atlanta, Georgia. And he created a system for us. He's a master coach called Lead Double Looping. And it's how we create a accountability system that removes the places agents can hide. You ready?
Shoot.
All right. Are we having any fun yet? I just want to make sure we're having fun. Yeah.
Listen, here we go. I'm going to show you something really quick. These are my notes
today
from you talking right now. Just from
I'm like,
dude, I'm in, bro. I'm sold on this. Thank you.
Well, good. Okay, well, tell me what you're seeing. Am I showing my screen?
I have multiple little screens or slides that I can see. There we go.
Now you're seeing double looping. Okay. All right. So let me show you how this works. So once a week, we are going to have a lead meeting. And in this meeting, we're going to take each of our agents and they have to come prepared to show this. I want to see every lead that's come in the last 7 days. I'm going to look at them. I'm going to review them. And I'm going to ask how many have been met with, who is moving forward, who needs more attention to connect. Are they categorized as A, B, or C? What follow-up plan is in place? I look at every lead for the last 7 days and we go through this. My job as a leader is to not teach or train here. It's just to allow them to take me through their leads. Who's been met with, who's moving forward, who needs more attention, how are they categorized, and what plans are, what follow-ups in place. So I look at the last 7 days, every lead, and they come prepared to show it. Then I go 1 week back and I pick one lead randomly from a week ago. And then I ask this question. They'll bring up their Lofty and I'll say, show me 7 weeks ago. I pull up one random lead and I say, great. Are they categorized correctly? Yes or no? Are they receiving calls, emails, and text? And are they logged correctly into Lofty? Yes or no? Do they have an upcoming to-do and no outstanding to-dos? Meaning, is there past to-dos you haven't done? Are they set up on an e-alert? Are they getting properties? And have they done any online activity that should be followed up with? Have they been looking at property? Did they change a search? Do we need to follow up with that? I look 1 week back. And if I pull it randomly and it's not there, it better be next time we get together. 1 month back, I pick one lead from 30 days ago randomly, and I ask the same questions. Are they categorized correctly? Are they receiving calls? Do they have an upcoming to-do that's not been done? Are they getting e-alerts? And do they have any unlikely activity that we followed up with? When you look at every lead from 7 days ago, one lead from a week ago, and one lead from a month ago, what happens is they can't hide because they don't know which random lead you're going to pick. And so they get better at categorizing everybody, making sure they're receiving calls, texts, and emails, and logging them into Lofty. And then they make sure there's no to-dos that are undone, and they make sure everybody's set up on an e-alert. What happens when they start following this lead double looping is, as a leader, you become really clear where the gaps are, and then you can train or coach to the gaps with people on your team.
I like this. There's a quick question that pertains to this or part of this earlier. I'm going to share it on the screen so you can read it too, Verl. It's from James. Why don't agents follow up after the second or third try, and how can we avoid the poor mindset that leads to that?
James, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. First of all, they don't follow up after the second or third try because they aren't trained to. We just assume they're going to as leaders because we did, and that's how we became successful. But they're not wired like you. They're team members, not team leaders. So let's start with that. The second thing is, have you trained them on a system that methodically follows up, and do you inspect regularly what you expect? If you don't inspect what you expect, you don't train them on a system, then they're just doing the best they know. We create bad follow-up by continuing to give leads to people that think that they're going to convert on the first or second call. And when they get one that does, they think all of them should, and it's like crack. And so they convert and they win it. And then they think they're done. People would rather pay 40% for a stupid Zillow lead than follow up 4 times because they think they're bugging people.
I mean, that's reality right there for sure.
Right. But how dumb is that? Like, let's just work our database. And so I would say that your question is great. And what we want to do is change the culture by doing daily huddles, by looking at their A, B's, and C's and teaching it, and then by doing once a week, the lead double looping. And so you have a culture on your team that isn't conducive to the follow-up. And by the way, no one does it perfectly. All we want to focus on is getting better at what we're currently doing. If you can get them to start doing 5 calls, that's a win. If you can get them to do 12, it's better. But I'm not going to, if they don't do 12, I'm not kicking them down the road. I'm just going to focus on going from 2 to 4. And then I want to just do a little bit better.
Another question, Cassandra. Great question. Should you follow up via call every time, or is text better? Or should we try a variety of ways, not just those 2?
Yes.
There you go.
So I have a series. The answer is yeah, follow up with text. Like we've learned that agents don't call. They don't answer their phone when we call them. But when we text them, they'll say, oh, yeah, I'm interested. I need a coach or whatever. So we use both. I also have a series.
I don't pick up my phone. I don't even return my voicemails. I'm like, just text me.
Yeah, right. So the answer is I ask people how they would prefer me to communicate with them, and then I just do it. I do what they prefer, not what I prefer. Like you might not call someone because you prefer text, but they may never look at their text. So nobody cares what you think. It's what do they think, right? It's give it.
Didi, you've got the coolest name, Didi. Didi McCracken, the McCracken system.
Right.
The McCracken everything from now on, Didi. This is great. She says, this is fantastic info. Will these slides be available?
No, but I'm going to give you some free downloads. I used to give my slides away, and then they started showing up at conferences where I was speaking.
Yeah, and then they'd have someone else's name on it, bro.
Right.
I watched
other
that
speakers,
happen.
right?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? That's my story. Why are you telling my story? Okay, so you see my screen
right?
still, my perfect week?
Let me put it on right now. There we go.
Okay. All right, so we've talked a little about creating a culture of productivity. We've talked about lead conversion. By the way, if there's another level you want some help with, raise your hand and say, I want some help. When you do my downloads, schedule a coaching consultation and talk to one of my consultants, and we'll just kind of evaluate where you are, and we can determine whether or not we're a good fit. We're not a good fit for everybody, but if you believe there's another level and you want a guide in the process, is all we do is build high-performing teams, and you feel like you need some help as a leader, then reach out. Like we'll follow up and we'll stay in touch with you until you're ready. And if we can help you, we'd love to. My perfect week. So when I talk about intention, This is a tool that we use with our clients called My Perfect Week. And what I ask them to do is on a Sunday night or Saturday, whatever their biological prime time is, I want them to look at the week in advance, and I want them to plan out if their week was perfect, what would it look like? When would they have their quiet hour to focus on their business? When would they do their ABC lead follow-up? When would they role play? When they go on buyer appointments? When would they go on listing appointments? When would they prospect? I haven't put all those things in here. Now, when someone calls and says, I'd like to go look at a house, instead of being a Pop-Tart agent and jumping out of your chair and running out like you have no clients, you say, great, would you rather go in the morning or afternoon? And I've got slots in mornings and afternoons and evenings for buyers to go out and look at properties. And I intentionally put them in the places that I want instead of being a Pop-Tart and putting them where they want. When you start getting intentional about that, what happens is you realize that you actually do have time to prospect and you do have time to follow up. But when you're reactive to every wind and everything that comes your way, you never get anything done or feel like you're not having a productive day. But when you put it out in a perfect week, but by the way, I've never had a perfect week, but I've had better weeks as a result of doing this. And then what I do is I track it. And so I use what's called the Daily Success Habits Tracker. And I track everything I do in 30-minute increments. And then I compare it to what I actually plan to do. And by being aware that my activities are not consistent with my goals, I'm able to make course correction. Accountability comes because I become aware. Accountability is awareness. It's not something someone needs to do to me. It's that I didn't know that I was off track. Now I know, and I make a course correction. Then the next thing we do with Daily Success Habits is every one of my agents has to do 61 points a day in dollar productive activities. This little 61 points a day doing dollar productive activity is pretty powerful because it allows me to coach to the gaps. So if you're doing prospecting calls, every time you make a call, you put a hash mark in. When you have a conversation, you make an X. I want to know how many dials it takes to have a conversation, how many conversations to get an appointment, how many appointments to get a listing or a buyer agreement signed, how many agreements do I need signed to get a closed transaction. And I track it on hundreds and if not thousands of teams and team members. Year to date, I know I'm tracking 317,000 prospecting activities. We've set 6,000 buyer appointments, 2,500 listing appointments, had 1,200 closings. I know it takes 141 points to get a buyer appointment, 320 to get a listing, and 671 points for a closing.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah, because greatness is predictable. And so is average. If I look at what you do every day and you're getting 12 points a day and they're all emails and you're not making any phone calls, do you think I can predict what your outcome is?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep. Greatness is predictable, so is average. And because I have all the data, I'm able to see it on so many high-performing teams. And then when I go in the daily huddle, I look at what are they doing? How many points did you get? Did you make your 25 dials? How many contacts you had? How many appointments were set? And I go through that and we focus on the Daily Success Habits Tracker. That single document will change the entire culture of your team and gives you a reason to have a daily huddle. And all your job is to do as a leader is to focus on progress, not perfection.
I like this, man.
Listen,
I've got two things. Oh, first everyone scan that, but bro, I've got two things that I got amongst the many things I wrote down. Okay.
Okay.
I got the one I'd stood out for me. The answer is to change the culture. For me, that really stood out for me. I'm like, that makes total sense. I feel that. I see it. And then you've got a process problem, not a people problem. You repeated that multiple times. And I agreed with you internally multiple times on that one, just so you know.
But it's really true. And it's not you. Like we all have areas where we can improve in this. It's not unique to real estate team leaders. We just see it more because we're in that business.
Yeah. I love this, man. I love this. And if you could go back to the slide with the QR code, please. That way people can scan that. I scanned it at the beginning, so I have the PDF that you give out. There you go. All right, well, please do yourself a favor, scan that. You'll get that immediately, and then answer the questions. And then if you have questions for Verl, if you want him or his team to help you out with becoming a better leader, growing your team, just leveling up to a different stage, he can help you out. I mean, he's been in this for a long time and with proven results. So I trust him. He's a great, great guy.
I have lots of stories and can share stories with you, but what I'd love to do is if you can share, do my stop my share screen share, and let's just show each other smiling faces. Is I'd love to just open up the call to any questions, like online. How are we live streaming?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, just ask me anything. This is Stump the Coach. Let's take the last 4 or 5 minutes we have, and just like anybody having any challenges with their teams or hiring or recruiting or conversions, throw them out there and let's have a little bit of fun with it.
I think a question that we got earlier that I didn't pop up there was on accountability. As we're waiting for the questions, how can we do a better job keeping ourselves accountable? How do we do that? Where do we start with that?
Well, first of all, we have to get really clear on where we are and where we want to go. And then we get really clear on what are the daily activities that have to happen for us to get there. The reason we don't have accountability is because we haven't taken the time to be clear on where we, okay, so let me give you an example. What if you got in your car today? How familiar are you with Salt Lake City?
Not very.
Great. So you show up in Salt Lake and you say, okay, Waze or Google Maps, take me somewhere in Salt Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think you're going to end up?
I don't even, probably in the middle of Salt Lake, I hope.
Right, in the middle of the lake. If you say, find me the best Mexican food that's owned by a local owner that speaks no English, that's highest rated on Google, and it tells you it's La Frontera or it's the red iguana or the green iguana, and you say, take me there. And then it gives you a roadmap. And now you've got clarity on where you want to go. You've got the left and right turns of everything you need to do to get there. Now accountability happens when you're driving down the road and it says, get off the exit, and you choose not to follow it. And then it says recalculating and then recalculating. What a coach does is a coach helps you identify where it is you want to go. It sits there in your process. And when you get off track, says, well, let's recalculate and see if this is still important. You still want Mexican food? Do you still want authentic local, or do you want to go to national chain? And if you still want authentic local, then we're going to have to make some course corrections. We're going to have to make a U-turn and go back and do it right. So having a good coach is like having a good GPS. But if you don't know where you want to go, it doesn't freaking matter.
It won't even matter.
Right.
I like that. How do you recharge as a team leader?
Okay, so first of all, that's a great question. And I'm hearing that a lot right now. People that have especially been through a downturn in the past, and then they were in COVID, and then they came out of it, and now they're feeling the same, are really struggling. And they're like, I don't want to do it again. I don't want to start my team again. I don't want to build it again. So what I do to recharge is, first of all, I take a little bit of time off. And I just go spend time with my family, and I remind myself what's important to me in life. And then I go back and say, if I continue to do nothing, am I going to be able to live the lifestyle I want in retirement? If the answer is no, then I get off my butt and go back to work.
That's, dude, I like that. How about when one of your people has a hard time following the process, meaning doesn't follow it or avoids it?
Well, I mean, then the first thing I say is I get really clear if I know what their goals are. So do I know what their goals are? Do they have a vision board? And do I know how to support that? A lot of times when people don't show up, they don't understand their own purpose in showing up. And because you're not asking the right questions as a leader, neither do you. And so you're trying to motivate them by, aren't you hungry? Don't you need to feed your kids? Maybe that doesn't motivate them. Maybe they're not hungry, right? So we got to find out what motivates them. Once I understand that, then I can hold them accountable. And then I can create an environment where they choose it. And if they don't choose it, then I use the 10 things to be on my team. And I live with integrity. If they don't do the things that they agreed to do when I hire them or that they signed, then I create an environment where they choose to share their talents with others. They will usually self-eliminate. I don't even have to fire them.
I love that, man. I love that. And listen, there are more questions for you. How do people get a hold of you?
I mean, it's coach@workmansuccess.com.
Coach Workmansuccess.com.
workmansuccess.com, or use the QR code and schedule an appointment and talk to one of my business consultants. They're phenomenal, and they'll just talk to you.
Excellent.
I want a
All right.
team. Do we have to stop now? Because it's 1 o'clock.
Yeah, we got a minute.
Let me see what I have. Hold on. Let me look at my calendar.
We got a minute.
I want to answer some of these questions. You got great questions on this board.
Yeah, dude. Some amazing question. I thought they'd ask you directly because I have another one that I have to jump off to, but
okay, here you go. I'm going to go fast. How do you recharge
shoot.
as a team leader? Remind yourself of your goals. What do you do with agents on your team that are only part-time and that work a full-time job? I give them a limited time to be able to transition to full-time. And they have to do certain things in order to get there. I don't hire full-time, part-time agents, but I have done it a few times. And when they have a transition plan, and if they don't meet it, then they self-eliminate. How about when one of your people has a hard time following the process? They don't show up or follow up or avoid it. Then we talked about that one. How to support agents who are prior high performers, but they're clearly burned out. Go back to the same thing. Where are their goals? What do they want? Are they able to go into retirement with what they currently have saved? If not, then we create an environment that allows them to.
Yeah.
And so find out what they want. With your coaching, working with a young team. Yeah, I want young teams. I want all teams. It doesn't matter whether you're young, old, tired, burned out. I've got a coach that'll help you. So let's figure out where you are, where your gaps are. We'll coach to the gaps. I am not a foofy run around the room and yell affirmations in the mirror. I'm not going to tell you to drop by jars of jam. What I'm going to teach you how to do is tactically build a 7-figure team. And once we get to 7-figure gross, we'll focus on 7-figure net. Let's create some real wealth. Stop messing around and let's do some business.
Coach to the gap. I love that.
That's all I got, man.
That's enough, man. That's enough for now. We need to have you back. I love
it.
So,
anytime.
Thank you for doing this, everyone. This was brought to you by Lofty. Check them out. If you're not part of them, you definitely need to use what I consider the best digital platform for real estate agents on the planet. So please jump in. Truby, great question. David, Emily, Gary, Kathy, Lori, Yvette, James, Dee McCracken, amazing last name. Cassandra, everybody else, thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Check out Lofty. Burl, thanks for doing this, man. Thanks for ending it strong.
See you soon.
Appreciate it.